Chapter 1531, Giving a Push. Zhao Hai calmly observed as robots took care of the luggage to be loaded up from Blue Planet. If the robots can't handle it, then he could come back using the space. After everything has been taken care of, Zhao Hai brought the Hell King's ship to the headquarters. Although Shen Wei seems to have no intention of sending an immortal expert to escort him, Zhao Hai still had to give word to Shen Wei before departing. Otherwise, Shen Wei would find fault with him. Zhao Hai knew that Shen Wei was looking for anything to cause problems for him. Naturally, he wouldn't give Shen Wei anything to work on. So after arriving at the headquarters, the first thing he did was report to Shen Wei. Just as expected, Shen Wei had Zhao Hai wait for quarter of an hour before inviting him in. Looking at the Shen faction's actions, Zhao Hai knew that Shen Wei was someone who only did the minimum amount of work. He's a person who was too calculating. This kind of person wouldn't go on to do great things. Entering the conference hall, Zhao Hai saw Shen Wei still sitting on the seat of honor. The other immortal experts were also present. After Zhao Hai gave everyone a salute, he turned to Shen Wei and said, reporting to Elder Shen, "This Zhao Hai came to say farewell before leaving. I would be late if I don't leave. May I ask if Elder has any more advice?" Shen Wei looked at Zhao Hai feeling complicated. Zhao Hai had no grievances with him. Also, Zhao Hai's performance was satisfactory. If Zhao Hai wasn't from the Mu faction, he would definitely take him in. Unfortunately, Zhao Hai was too involved with the Mu faction. Shen Wei couldn't use Zhao Hai, and he wouldn't dare do so either. Shen Wei replied, "Go, don't lose face for the 100 Treasures realm." Zhao Hai nodded. Then after giving another salute, he turned around and left. As soon as Zhao Hai got outside, a few severed soul experts from the 100 Treasures realm asked where he was going. Naturally, Zhao Hai answered them with the truth. The reason these severed soul experts came to ask this was because they heard rumors that Zhao Hai would be sent to explore the sea. This caused the severed soul experts to be in an uproar. These severed soul experts knew very well how important Zhao Hai was to the 100 Treasures realm. During the last war, these people fought beside Zhao Hai. How strong was Zhao Hai? He was able to defend against immortal experts. In this case, it's natural for these people to react. Now that they met Zhao Hai, they naturally want to ask if the rumors were real. After obtaining a positive reply, these severed soul experts were in a great uproar. Naturally, Shen Wei heard the ruckus outside. He quickly appeared in front of the door as he looked at the people outside and roared, "What's the racket? Don't you know where this is?" The severed soul experts stopped. Some of them turned their head to look at Shen Wei. Then one of them took a step forward and said, "May I ask Elder Shen whether Zhao Hai was sent to explore the sea?" Shen Wei looked at the severed soul expert and knit his brows. It was because this severed soul expert wasn't from the Mu faction nor the Shen faction. It was a severed soul expert that Shen Wei didn't intend to offend. So he calmly replied, "Yes." After discussing with the other elders, the task of exploring the sea has been given to Zhao Hai. The severed soul expert replied, "Elder, Zhao Hai greatly contributed to the 100 Treasures realm. Moreover, his strength is formidable. Why would we send him out to explore the sea? I request the elder to withdraw the assignment." The other experts also loudly said, "We ask the elder to withdraw the assignment." Shen Wei didn't expect the situation to turn this way. He didn't expect Zhao Hai to be this popular in the 100 Treasures realm. But seeing Zhao Hai just standing there with a calm face, Shen Wei couldn't help but burn with anger. In his mind, this was Zhao Hai's scheme. Zhao Hai willingly agreed to explore the sea, and then he organized these people to put pressure on Shen Wei and make him look bad. If he takes a step back now, then he would have a hard time establishing his influence in the future. Thinking about this, Shen Wei coldly snorted and said, "This is the decision of the Elders' Assembly. This decision cannot be changed. What you're doing right now is useless. Go back to your jobs." Then he no longer paid attention to the crowd as he turned around and entered the conference hall. Nobody expected Shen Wei to have a strong attitude, but this made Zhao Hai secretly smile. He was going to the sea anyway, but he came this time to the conference hall to have Shen Wei make him wait for a quarter of an hour. Even if Zhao Hai didn't do anything, He was still quite angry. He knew that Shen Wei wouldn't last for long, and since Shen Wei wanted to ruin himself, then Zhao Hai would give him a push. Seeing Shen Wei's strong attitude, the severed soul experts were in an uproar once again. The severed soul expert who just spoke couldn't help but frown. Although he was not an immortal expert, he has someone backing him. Shen Wei not only ignored his face, but also the face of the immortal expert behind him. How can he just accept this humiliation? Just as the severed soul expert was about to enter the conference hall to give Shen Wei his thoughts, Zhao Hai grabbed him. After that, Zhao Hai turned to the other severed soul experts and said, "Everyone, please calm down. Listen to me first." The crowd quieted after a while. Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "Thank you for speaking up for me. I respect the decision made by the elders. Please don't defend the elders just for me. The 100 Treasures realm has been on the right track in the past 2 years. There shouldn't be any problems soon. Exploring the sea won't be a problem. Perhaps when I come back, I'll be able to bring treasures for everyone." "Right, time is tight, I won't stay for much longer." After he said that, Zhao Hai greeted everyone before turning around and leaving through the transmission formation, and with a flash of white light, he disappeared. The severed soul expert who spoke for Zhao Hai had a pale complexion. He looked at the conference hall coldly before he said, "Let's go." The severed soul expert wasn't mad at Zhao Hai. He knew that Zhao Hai had blocked him from having a conflict with Shen Wei, which would end in his eventual loss. Although Zhao Hai said that the expedition would bring benefits, a discerning person would know that this expedition was a life-and-death endeavor. Zhao Hai only said that he didn't want them to be in conflict with Shen Wei. These severed soul experts would not only remember Zhao Hai's kindness, but also their hatred towards Shen Wei. Although Shen Wei already entered the conference hall, he was still aware of what's happening outside. If that severed soul expert really did come and express his thoughts, then Shen Wei would certainly use him to show his position. But after hearing Zhao Hai, the severed soul expert retreated. Shen Wei was surprised, but he coldly snorted and said, "Lifting yourself up with favors. Let's see how I deal with you." Shen Wei thinks himself as clever. However, in the eyes of the other immortal experts, he actually was not. These immortal experts weren't fools. The reason they sided with Shen Wei was because they want to get bigger benefits. However, they discovered that after his disciple died, Shen Wei was becoming more and more unreasonable. The only thing in his mind right now was dealing with the Mu faction. He didn't even know how his disciple died. Why would he blame the Mu faction? This was the 10,000 realm battlefield. Death was quite common here. However, Shen Wei put the loss on Mu Yao's head. Wasn't this thinking absolutely unfair? Also, to these immortal experts, Mu Yao had been very good to Shen Wei. During Mu Yao's term, he didn't suppress Shen Wei. Instead, he treated Shen Wei right. These immortal experts didn't think that Mu Yao was afraid of Shen Wei. Every powerful cultivator climbed up a mountain of corpses and swam through a sea of blood. How could they be afraid of anyone? Everything that happened was just Shen Wei's delusion caused by being inferior to Mu Yao ever since they were young. Because of this, Shen Wei did everything in order to suppress Mu Yao. And now, Shen Wei treated Zhao Hai in an ugly manner. Zhao Hai's achievements in the war were well known throughout the 100 Treasures realm. Moreover, it was impossible for Mu Yao to pin these achievements to Zhao Hai. The previous war was between 3 powerful realms along with countless smaller realms. Under the gaze of so many eyes, how could Mu Yao install fake achievements on Zhao Hai and have nobody complain? Shen Wei failed to see this point. Instead, he suppressed Zhao Hai and gave him a suicidal mission. Moreover, he treated the severed soul experts roughly. It must be known that the influence of the severed soul experts was still quite substantial. Even an immortal expert wouldn't dare a large number of severed soul experts. Shen Wei continued to miss important point after important point. Moreover, he still felt that he was clever. What he didn't know was that although the severed soul experts had retreated, the anger in their heart wouldn't be quenched. The more time passes, this anger would continue to grow before they could no longer suppress it, and it would explode like a volcano. When the time comes, even Shen Wei wouldn't have the power to stop it. Thinking of this, The other immortal experts couldn't help but look at one another. They could see the thoughts of the others. This wasn't the first time that they surfed beside Shen Way. They all knew what kind of person Shen Way was. He was a stubborn person who's prone to turning a deaf ear to advice. If Shen Way continues to ignore advice, then it wouldn't be long before he suffers a misfortune. These immortal experts knew the future, yet they still followed Shen Way. Actually, these immortal experts already had plans for themselves. They just didn't show it. They just calmly sat there and continued to chat with Shen Way. They went on with their tasks as though there's nothing going on. Chapter 1532, Immortal Expert Blocking the Way. Zhao Hai appeared on the other side of the transmission formation. As soon as he appeared, before he could see what was around him, he heard someone say, "I have seen Mr. Zhao Hai." Zhao Hai focused his eyes and recognized a subordinate of the 100 Treasures realm. He also fought beside them before. This person was from a subordinate realm called the Shadow Shuttle realm. They were good at making small shuttles that had formidable offensive strength. The commander of the Shadow Shuttle realm in the battlefield was called Huang Tan. He was a severed soul stage expert. Their immortal experts didn't manage their normal affairs and instead acted as hidden guards of the headquarters. Because of this, the entire headquarters was managed by Huang Tan. Shadow Shuttle realm was the 100 Treasures realm's southernmost subordinate. Essentially, they were at the southern boundary of the 100 Treasures realm's southern domain. This was the farthest Zhao Hai could teleport to. Now, he has to walk the rest of the way by himself. Moreover, the remaining section wasn't safe. He was at risk of being attacked by other realms. Zhao Hai understood the importance of this sea expedition to the other realms. This was very much a competition between realms. Although the various realms sent famed youths to explore the sea before, they didn't send any core members of their realm, which explained the current issue. Departing together and working with each other was practically a lie. Among the group were people who had grudges with each other. It was almost assured that they would kill each other once at sea. However, Zhao Hai didn't care about this. He already has a plan, and even if the other party sends an immortal expert, he could still deal with them. After chatting for a while with Huang Tan, Zhao Hai left the Shadow Shuttle realm's headquarters. The meeting place was a peninsula quite a distance from the 100 Treasures realm's territory. 10 days of travel was naturally enough, but there were people blocking the way, then time would be a little tight. Despite this, Zhao Hai was prepared. He already had his Silver Needles scout ahead. Even if people were blocking him, he can still rush to the meeting place in the shortest amount of time. Zhao Hai needed to reach the destination on time because of the rules set in place. If someone was late, then they would be subjected to a penalty. If it was still Mu Yao's term, then Zhao Hai wouldn't be afraid of being punished. Not to say being punished, Mu Yao wouldn't even send Zhao Hai to explore the sea. But now that Shen Wei was in power, if he didn't arrive on time, then Shen Wei definitely wouldn't let him off. Upon leaving the Shadow Shuttle realm's headquarters, Zhao Hai immediately took out the Hell King's ship and then rushed towards the seaside. It must be said that the Hell King's ship has become famous in the 10,000 realm battlefield. Everyone knew what it looked like. If they spotted the Hell King's ship, then people would get out of the way. Zhao Hai's reputation increased because of the previous war. Now, nobody in the 10,000 realm battlefield would dare underestimate him. He was currently the most famous youth in the battlefield. This time, Zhao Hai didn't only release the Hell King's ship to travel fast, he also wanted the children inside the ship to see the outside. Therefore, he also brought them all out. Laura and the others were also on the Hell King's ship. Besides them and the children, there were also a lot of undead keeping things in order. Now that Zhao Hai released the Hell King's ship, the undead opened the windows to allow the children to look outside. These children were very curious. In the past, they were just ordinary children back in their home planets. They haven't been anywhere else. And after being transferred to Blue Tree Planet, this was their first outing. Because of this, They were all curious as they looked at everything they passed by. Zhao Hai swept his ship with his spiritual force and couldn't help but smile. These children couldn't just stay at school studying. They need to expand their horizons. Only when their visions had been expanded could their efforts bear fruit. Laura stood on Zhao Hai's side. As she looked at the eyes of the children, she smiled faintly and said, "Brother Hai, these are quite good. This trip will be very important for their future. Now I hope that someone will attack us so that they can see a battle between experts." Zhao Hai smiled and said, "We're still in the Shadow Shuttle Realm's territory. The 100 Treasures Realm is currently riding a rising wave. People from the other realms wouldn't dare mess around with them. But once we get out of the 100 Treasures Realm's domain, some blind people might come and meet us." Laura and the others smiled. Julie was also on the ship along with Kair. Julie looked at Zhao Hai and said, "Brother Hai, if someone blocks our way, can you leave them to me?" Hearing Julie, Zhao Hai couldn't help but stare. Then he turned to her and smiled bitterly. He didn't expect Julie to still be this battle-hungry. Moreover, Zhao Hai understood Julie's strength. After entering the space, Julie experienced a huge power-up. Now, even if he used the 18 Buddhist techniques, Zhao Hai was still not sure if he could win against Julie. This was evidence to how powerful the current Julie was. Seeing Julie's hopeful face, Zhao Hai had no choice but to nod. "All right, if people really come to look for trouble, you can fight them." Hearing Zhao Hai, Julie turned ecstatic, and with an excited expression she said, "Fantastic. Thank you, Brother Hai." Julie was the liveliest one among the females. Moreover, she was somewhat naive. Her character was very likable. No matter, Zhao Hai and the others were very fond of her. As the Hell King's ship flew, cultivators immediately made way as soon as they saw it. Some cultivators even gave Zhao Hai a salute from a distance. Zhao Hai also returned the salute as he continued on without stopping. Before long, the Hell King's ship left the 100 Treasures Realm's domain. Despite this, Zhao Hai didn't slow down. He kept flying forward at a high speed. But this time, Zhao Hai wasn't standing on the bow of the ship. Instead, he sat down on the deck along with Laura and the others to eat a meal. Mo Shen had always been on Zhao Hai's side. He also sat on the table and ate without reservations. In front of him was a large pile of food intended for him to consume. Zhao Hai took a glass of wine and took a sip. Then he placed the glass down and said, "Without discussing the resources we would gain, the exploration this time should at least give us two things. Firstly, the dark clouds and the purple fog. I don't believe that the space would be unable to subdue the two. And second, we might be able to establish a stronghold overseas." Laura nodded and said, "I don't believe that there are no beasts in this sea. Maybe we can collect beasts for the space, but it would be better if we could find a new continent." Lizzie smiled and said, "In 2 years, the space is able to level up to 270. A rise of 20 levels. I didn't expect this before. Sister Julie is really amazing." Julie chuckled and replied, "This is nothing. The space is also good to me." "Right. Why are there no enemies?" Hearing Julie, everyone laughed. Then at this time, Kair suddenly said, "Look, someone did come. Moreover, this person is quite strong." When Julie heard Kair, she stared, then she excitedly stood up as he said, Where are they? Are they looking for us?" Kair smiled faintly and said, "They should be. Otherwise, why would an immortal expert stand in our way?" "We'll meet him in about 10 minutes." Zhao Hai replied, "An immortal expert? They really think highly of me. But do they think that an immortal expert can do anything to me?" Kair replied, "That's possible. Although you fought with immortal experts before, it wasn't for a long time. Moreover, the enemy ran away. Because of this, a lot of people in the 10,000 realm battlefield don't believe that you fought with an immortal expert. Sending one after you should be quite normal." Zhao Hai smiled bitterly and said, "That's interesting. Alright, I want to see who I'm up against." The Hell King's ship accelerated. In less than 10 minutes, Zhao Hai slowed down because there was an immortal expert wearing grey clothes standing on the Hell King's ship's path. Zhao Hai and the others also finished their meal at this time. They stood on the bow of the ship and looked at the immortal expert. The immortal expert was quite ugly. He had a long face with very few hairs on his head. He also had small eyes that looked awkward on his face. Zhao Hai cupped his fist towards the immortal expert and said, "May I ask why Senior is blocking this junior's path?" The immortal expert was in a daze as he looked at the beautiful women on Zhao Hai's ship. He didn't expect Zhao Hai to have such pretty women beside him. A flash of envy and hate appeared in his eyes as he said, "I am here to take your life." Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "A lot of people want to take this Zhao Hai's life. However, they all failed. I wonder if Senior is just like the rest of them." The immortal expert didn't reply. Instead he coldly snorted and said, "Enough chit-chat, go die." Then he waved his hand as he sent a fist flying towards Zhao Hai. Before Zhao Hai could make a move, a charming grunt could be heard as Julie jumped in. It has been a long time since her last battle, so Julie was itching for a fight. Seeing an immortal expert come out, Julie naturally didn't wait for Zhao Hai to speak. She immediately rushed forward. Chapter 1533, Use of the Bone Plants. The immortal expert never thought that it wouldn't be Zhao Hai who would move, but instead his woman. The punch that he sent out was just to test Zhao Hai. Seeing Julie get in front, the immortal expert couldn't help but squint his eyes. He wanted to see how strong this woman was. Julie turned her right hand into a bone blade. As he swung the blade down, the fist was immediately broken. Julie proceeded to attack the immortal expert. Julie was an expert at close combat. This fighting style requires the fighter to be quick, and because of the space, Julie was able to comprehend some space laws allowing her to become faster. In a few flashes, she was already in front of the immortal expert. The immortal expert was startled. He didn't expect Julie to be this quick. He quickly withdrew a long spear. This spear was a rifle like the fire weavers. Instead it was the cold weapon spear. The immortal expert raised his spear to counteract Julie's strike. At the same time, he retreated and took out more long-handled artifacts. Then he proceeded to attack Julie. Julie was like a bone maggot, sticking close to the immortal expert and not allowing any distance between them. Although the immortal expert released a few weapons, Julie counteracted by transforming her limbs into weapons as well. It didn't take long before the immortal expert was placed in a disadvantage. It wasn't hard to explain why the immortal expert was having a hard time. Normally, cultivators would fight at a long range. A close combat fighter like Julie was very rare, and only body cultivators do it. However, there weren't a lot of body cultivators in the 10,000 realm battlefield. Therefore, the immortal expert wasn't used to this type of battle. It's natural for him to be at the back foot. Most importantly, Julie wasn't any weaker than him. It was impossible for the immortal expert to use his artifacts to gain an advantage. Because of this, the immortal expert had an ugly expression on his face. Zhao Hai stood on the Hell King's ship as he spectated the fight. He didn't intend to meddle. Also at this time, although the children couldn't go out to see the fight, they were watching it through a projector. These children were quite familiar with Julie. Ever since she entered the space, Julie no longer hungered for humans. Instead, she became fond of children. Because of this, she visited the academy quite often. Now, seeing Julie fight on the screen, and seeing her being strong, the children couldn't help but be excited. They cheered every time she clashed with her opponent. Zhao Hai could see that Julie wasn't going all out. It seems like she was intending to keep the immortal expert from leaving. However, Zhao Hai also knew how hard it was to keep an immortal expert. If one wanted to stop an immortal expert from escaping, they would need to be at least a level stronger than them. The immortal expert wasn't in a good mood. He tried method after method in order to get out of Julie's entanglement. However, he had been unsuccessful so far. At this point, it had become more difficult to get out. The two sides fought for 1 hour. At this point, the immortal expert could no longer afford to delay. The longer he stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. This was because Zhao Hai was still on the side watching the battle. If he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to leave forever. Thinking of this, the immortal expert clenched his teeth as he attacked Julie with his artifacts. Then suddenly he shouted, explode. The artifacts exploded with a bang. Exploding their artifacts was a technique that cultivators didn't like to use. This was because this skill damages their soul. It was damaging the enemy with 100 but also hurting yourself for 80. And it might not even kill the enemy. This was a technique primarily used to escape. Julie could be proud for being able to compel an immortal expert to use this technique. The immortal expert wants to use the explosion to drive Julie back. It would also be much better if Julie was injured. Unfortunately, the immortal expert was facing Julie. Julie was a bug queen. Not only can her limbs become bone weapons, her whole body could transform as well. Because of this, Julie was able to cover her body with bone armor before she was hit by the explosion. Before the immortal expert could leave, Zhao Hai blocked him. Zhao Hai was now wearing full body armor. He didn't use any weapons and instead used his fists to fight the immortal expert. The immortal expert was now feeling depressed. Both Zhao Hai and Julie were fighting in close combat. After Zhao Hai clashed with the immortal expert, Julie arrived. The two proceeded to team up against the enemy. On the other hand, because he exploded his artifacts, the immortal expert was now injured. He was further pushed back. However, the fight was still not easy. After all, the enemy was an immortal expert. He was able to divide his soul and placed it inside his spear to fight against Zhao Hai while the main body faced Julie. But now, it was obvious that he was no longer Julie's opponent. First, he wasn't a body cultivator and he was weak against close combat. And second, he was already injured. As for Zhao Hai, he was waiting for an opportunity to capture the spear and send it to the space. He knew that this spear was the life source weapon of the immortal expert. He wanted to send it to the space and analyze it and see what's special about it. However, the soul inside the spear was one with the immortal expert. Once the immortal expert dies, the soul inside the spear would die as well. In the past, when he sent immortal experts to the space, they were already dead. Because of this, the spirit inside their artifact was also dead. He wanted to study their life source weapons, but he didn't have any opportunity to do so. Because of this, he wanted an artifact of an immortal expert that was still alive. This wasn't easy to do. The soul inside the artifact was also at the immortal stage. Taking this artifact to the space was as hard as sending an immortal expert themselves into the space. As he fought with the spear, Zhao Hai was also paying attention to Julie's situation. Julie was now on the winning side. Although the immortal expert roared again and again, he could only parry the attacks coming after him. He didn't have the strength to fight back. It seems like it would only be a matter of time before Julie kills him. Zhao Hai needs to hurry up. Zhao Hai intensified his attacks as the spear clashed with him. Then at this moment, an opportunity appeared. He waved his hand and a long iron chain wrapped around the spear. The artifact seems to be stunned by the sudden change, and this pause was enough for Zhao Hai to send it through a spatial rift. The immortal expert was connected to his spear. Now, he suddenly found out that his spear had been cut out. He was shocked and couldn't help but pause. Julie used this chance to pierce his throat using a bone hook. At this moment, a prompt came from the space. Foreign program detected. Subjugating program. Program subjugated. The program seems to be a divine soul. Since it has been separated from the main body, it is rapidly weakening, suggesting the host to remove the divine soul and transplant it to another. It is also recommended that the host use bone plants for the carrier since it can help nurture divine souls. Zhao Hai stared. Then he exploded with happiness. He never knew what the bone plants were used for. When the space was still level 250, he wanted to use the scanner to analyze what bone plants were. However, the space just told him that its level was still low. But now, the space took the initiative to tell him to use bone plants for the carrier since it can nourish divine souls. This made Zhao Hai happy. He immediately combined bone plants onto liquid silver. After that, he took out the divine soul from the spear and transplanted it onto liquid silver. However, Zhao Hai didn't expect it to fail. While he was stunned, the space issued another prompt. Because liquid silver is used by the host, divine souls cannot be added. Please look for another carrier. Zhao Hai couldn't help but knit his brows. He immediately decomposed the silver, gaining 2 new resources for the space. After that, Zhao Hai used the method to refine spirit snake needles in order to recreate the spear. He also added bone plants to the newly made spear. After that, he transplanted the divine soul into the spear. The divine soul melted into the spear. Zhao Hai even felt the divine soul transmitting a happy emotion. At this time, the corpse of an immortal expert was sent to the space. Once the corpse turned into an undead, Zhao Hai asked, "Where are you from?" The undead bowed its head and said, replying to the young master, "I am from the ghost spirit realm. I was ordered this time to kill the young master." Zhao Hai knit his brows as he said, "Ghost spirit realm, huh? They are really ambitious to actually be the first to cause trouble. HMPH, I'll find time to deal with them." "What are your cultivation methods? Maybe I can teach the children new skills." "Go back and write it." The immortal undead bowed and then drew back. Zhao Hai knew what cultivation methods the ghost spirit realm practiced. They belonged to the evil faction among cultivators. Moreover, they were quite strong. However, this person must be specially chosen. Cultivators from the ghost spirit realm normally used ghosts or zombies to fight. However, this person was instead using a spear. This should be intended to hide his origin. Zhao Hai wanted the ghost spirit realm's methods because several of the children had the yin attribute. They should be suitable to study evil cultivation methods. Because the evil cultivation methods that Zhao Hai collected before weren't advanced, he wasn't able to teach advanced level evil cultivation methods to the children. He just laid a foundation for them. His original plan was to kill some evil sect masters and get their cultivation methods, but now, that seems unnecessary since someone personally delivered the cultivation methods to him. After dealing with the matters inside the space, Zhao Hai returned to the Hell King's ship. The ship was still moving fast. Laura and the others didn't return to the space and just chatted on the top deck. Seeing Zhao Hai arrive, Kair said, "Young master, now that we know how to use bone plants, should we make something?" Zhao Hai raised his brows and said, "What do we make?" Kair smiled and said, "Young master, how can you forget? Inside the hell space, soul fires are produced every time. Aren't soul fires like divine souls? It's only because they are inferior that they are weaker than skeletons. They also have no wisdom. But if we can use bone plants, we can nourish these soul fires. Once they gain sentience, we can obtain large quantities of soul weapons that aren't weak." Hearing Kair, Zhao Hai stared, then he nodded and said, "We can do that." "All right, let's follow your plan. However, we need to experiment first to see if this method can be used. We also need to see if we can mass-produce it. I still want to see what kind weapons we can use for this method." Kair nodded and said, "Rest assured, I'll take care of it." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he said, "How are the children doing?" Kair smiled and said, "The children are currently talking about the battle. They are still very weak, so they have a lot of things they couldn't understand. And even if we tell them, they wouldn't be able to comprehend it. There's nothing to worry about them." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he said, "We don't have much time left. We need to speed up a bit. There's no need to be dragged by these people. When I come back from the sea, I will clean up the ghost spirit realm. To actually dare move against me, they will regret it." Laura and the others agreed. Laura replied, "The ghost spirit realm is good at using ghosts and zombies to fight. They came to us probably because they're curious about Brother Hai's undead controlling method. Brother Hai, although you didn't release strong undead, their sheer number definitely made those fellows jealous." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he said, "We'll take care of this once we return from the sea. What's important right now was to see how big the sea really is." Spear and gun, rifle have the same character in Chinese, which explains the statement. Chapter 1534, Hornview Mountain. Hornview Mountain was a low rugged mountain. It had no plants and very thin spiritual chi density. It was a strange place considering that it was in the 10,000 realm battlefield. At this time, there were more than a dozen people standing on the mountain. Half of these people had powerful auras since they were immortal experts. As for the others, they were transcending tribulation experts. However, the expressions of these transcending tribulation experts weren't very good. Every single one of them had gray expressions. They looked defeated and dejected. These transcending tribulation experts were the representatives of their realms. Naturally, it was impossible for the realms to send severed soul experts. Because of these, transcending tribulation experts were sent. These transcending tribulation experts knew what they were about to do. They also knew that this was a suicidal mission. Because of these, all of them had ugly expressions. Suddenly, a huge ship came flying from a distance. Before long, the ship arrived at Hornview Mountain. Seeing the huge ship, those on the mountain couldn't help but change their expression. This included the immortal experts. This huge ship was very famous in the 10,000 realm battlefield. This ship signifies the presence of a person, someone from the 100 treasures realm, Zhao Hai. This ship was Zhao Hai's banner. Everyone in the battlefield has already recognized Zhao Hai's skill. However, nobody expected him to appear here. Everyone on the mountain was stunned. As they looked at the figure approaching Hornview Mountain, they were all sure that it was Zhao Hai. In the past 2 years, Zhao Hai's name rode alongside the 100 Treasures Realm's fame. Almost every major power knew Zhao Hai's face. They will not mistake it for someone else. When he arrived at Hornview Mountain, Zhao Hai gave everyone a bow and said, "Zhao Hai has seen everyone. This Zhao Hai has been ordered to explore the sea. I thank everyone in advance for your help." Hearing Zhao Hai's introduction, the immortal experts looked at each other. They saw the shock on each other's faces. Zhao Hai's great contribution for the 100 Treasures Realm wasn't a secret. The 100 Treasures Realm was actually willing to send a talent like Zhao Hai to explore the sea. Had the 100 Treasures Realm gone mad? An immortal expert looked at Zhao Hai and said, "I didn't expect the 100 Treasures Realm to send you." Good, good. To be honest, they didn't oppose the 100 Treasures Realm's decision to send Zhao Hai. If Zhao Hai dies out at sea, then it would be good for them. Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "This expedition is a major event for all of us. Naturally, the realm has to send the most capable person. Since this Zhao Hai is still young and ignorant, the realm chose to send me to learn." The immortal experts looked at Zhao Hai in confusion. They believed that Zhao Hai knew what this expedition represented. It was a suicidal mission. How could Zhao Hai be this confident? Isn't he afraid of death? The immortal experts naturally didn't know what's inside Zhao Hai's mind, and Zhao Hai didn't intend to tell them. Zhao Hai turned his head and looked at the experts who would participate in the expedition. He smiled at them and then calculated the time. He looked at the immortal experts and said, "Seniors, there's still some time. Is there anyone who hasn't arrived yet?" Hearing Zhao Hai, the immortal experts nodded. Then one of them said, "There are still 2 realms who haven't arrived. One is from the puppet realm and the others is from the ghost spirit realm. However, they should be arriving soon." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he looked at the mist flowing on top of the sea. He let out a long breath and said, "Although I have been sent to explore the sea, it's also something I wanted to do." Majority of the 10,000 realm battlefield's land is controlled by the 5 great realms. We can only fight each other for the small land we're left with. In the end, our strength is consumed. On the contrary, the 5 great realms have been having a peaceful time. Now, the 5 great realms have been in peace for many years and they had been accumulating their strength. With all this strength, they need someone to fight, which would end up to be us. We cannot afford to offend the 5 great realms at this time, so our only choice is to look beyond the sea. If we can really discover something out there, then it would be good for us. We can rely on the sea to face the 5 great realms. Advance and retreat, advance and retreat. When the time comes, it wouldn't be us who would be in trouble, but instead the 5 great realms. The immortal experts didn't expect Zhao Hai to suddenly say this. All of them stared, then one of them sighed and said, "We know that, but the poisonous mist and the dark clouds leave yous with nothing." For many years, a lot of experts died exploring the sea. Do you really think that we want to send people to their death? A lot of resources is needed to train a transcending tribulation expert. How can we just throw them away like that? The reason we continue to send people is the hope of finding something out there that can allow us to change our position. When the transcending tribulation experts heard this, their expression lightened up. Seeing their expressions, Zhao Hai just smiled faintly and didn't say anything. At this time, Zhao Hai could feel two formidable auras coming towards Hornview Mountain. Zhao Hai's senses couldn't be wrong. There were two immortal experts. Before long, four figures appeared near the mountain. Two of them looked ghostly and had clouds beneath their feet. A ghost's face could be seen once in a while on the cloud, which looked quite eerie. The other two were standing on a black turtle's back. The turtle had a metallic luster all over its body. As it turns out, it was a beast puppet, not a real turtle. What's strange about this metal turtle was the fact that it could move just like a real one. It was very flexible and its bodily structure was made perfectly. What surprised Zhao Hai was the fact that this turtle also had a strong aura. From what he can see, this turtle should also be in the immortal stage, which was quite surprising. Before long, the four people arrived at Hornview Mountain. They received their artifacts and looked up at the Hell King's ship parked above. They didn't say anything. However, the person from the ghost spirit realm had an ugly expression. After the four stepped on the mountain, the immortal expert who spoke to Zhao Hai said, "You two are the last. Now that everyone is here, it's time for the kids to depart." At this time, someone from the ghost spirit realm said, "Wait, I have something to ask Zhao Hai." Then he turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Zhao Hai, why did you put your artifact above me and the others? Are you looking down on us?" Zhao Hai looked at the person from the ghost spirit realm and said, "This one didn't have that intention, but since this expedition is very dangerous, my wives didn't want me to go alone, so they came with me. Because of this, I can only leave them in my artifact." Hearing Zhao Hai, everyone present stared. They didn't expect Zhao Hai to bring his family to explore the sea. They were truly surprised. When the immortal expert from the ghost spirit realm heard what Zhao Hai said, he no longer said anything. He knew what Zhao Hai meant. Zhao Hai wanted to say that since this expedition would be perilous, then it would be too much if the immortal expert still caused him trouble. Since the immortal expert from the ghost spirit realm no longer said anything, then others naturally stayed quiet. At this, the immortal expert who spoke before changed the topic and said, "All right, it's time for you to go. Remember, this expedition involves the fate of our realms. You need to do your best." Everyone nodded. Zhao Hai cupped his fist towards everyone and said, "Everyone, since we're all going to explore the sea, then we should go together. Let me invite you to my artifact. This way is much better than going on our own." When the others heard Zhao Hai, they were stunned for a while. They looked at each other and then one of them said, "That would be good. Then we'll be bothering Mr. Zhao Hai." Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "Everyone, please." After that, the others moved to Zhao Hai's Hell King's ship. Zhao Hai gave the immortal experts a salute before commanding the Hell King's ship to fly towards the sea. The immortal experts looked at Zhao Hai and the others and let out a long breath. One of them said, "This Zhao Hai is really good. It's a pity." Another immortal expert smiled and said, "I'm sure that Zhao Hai can come back alive. He's an extraordinary kid. Not to mention his strength. He has repeatedly created miracles. I'm afraid this time isn't an exception." The other immortal experts had an expression of disapproval. Zhao Hai has a great reputation in the 10,000 realm battlefield and he even fought against immortal experts. But so what? Even immortal experts couldn't do anything against the purple fog and the dark clouds, let alone Zhao Hai. On the other hand, Zhao Hai didn't think so much as he brought everyone to the sea. As for the transcending tribulation experts, they couldn't help but scan the ship with their spiritual force. Then they were stunned. There really were people inside the ship. Moreover, there were a lot of them, about more than 10,000. There's also a lot of undead. This caused the transcending tribulation experts to be confused. Looking at their expressions, Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "They're my disciples from the 100 Treasures realm. I took them out this time to get some experience. To be honest, I really don't care much about this expedition." The transcending tribulation experts were stunned. This was a very dangerous mission, and Zhao Hai didn't care about it. How could he be that confident? Zhao Hai looked at everyone and said, "We're all selected by our realms. To be honest, in our own realms, our status isn't that good, right? If we can successfully explore the sea, then our position would be different." One of the transcending tribulation experts looked at Zhao Hai and said, "Mister, You must be joking. Your position in the 100 Treasures realm is on par with Mu Yu. How could you be like us? Zhao Hai forced a smile and said, that was before. You should know that the 100 Treasures realm changes its leaders every 10 years. Now, Elder Shen Way is now in charge. Elder Shen and Elder Mu didn't have a good relationship in the past. Now that Elder Shen is in power, he will naturally attack the Mu faction, and I'm the first person he attacked. Chapter 1535. Probing. The Transcending Tribulation experts were speechless, but they couldn't help but think, after all, they were just victims of the struggle of their respective realms. As Zhao Hai was talking to the others, he also released silver needles in order to receive some dark clouds. Although Zhao Hai wasn't afraid of the dark clouds, he still needed to be careful. For immortal experts to be helpless against it, how could it be this simple? Because of this, Zhao Hai chose to be cautious. At this time, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Then a long-haired woman came out and ran towards Zhao Hai. Brother Hai, help me, I'm being bullied. When the Transcending Tribulation experts saw this woman, they couldn't help but stare. This was because they felt the woman's level. As they were stunned, they saw the woman fling her hair. Her hair was like a snake as it flew out. Then they heard a putchy sound and a stream of blood flew out. Everyone was shocked. They noticed that there was a jade hook at the end of the woman's hair. Now this jade hook has pierced into the throat of the expert from the Ghost Spirit realm. The Transcending Tribulation experts paused. Then their expressions changed. They were about to fly out, but they discovered that they were surrounded by a large number of undead. These undead all had rifles aimed at them. The Transcending Tribulation experts didn't dare move. They knew about the rifles of the 100 Treasures realm. Although they were copied from the Fire Weavers, the rifles were still very powerful. In such a close distance, they wouldn't be able to dodge. The Transcending Tribulation experts had ugly expressions. One of them looked at Zhao Hai and said, Zhao Hai, what are you doing? Zhao Hai looked at the immortal experts and said, I'm sorry for using this method to stop you. When we get deep into the sea, I will definitely release you. As for this person from the Ghost Spirit realm, I need to kill him. It's because an immortal expert from the Ghost Spirit realm tried to kill me while I was on the way to Hornview Mountain. Please don't get offended. After he said that, Zhao Hai waved away the undead and the corpse of the Ghost Spirit realm expert. Julie looked at the Transcending Tribulation experts with a scornful expression on her face. She coldly snorted and returned back to the cabin. To be honest, Julie's action was very charming. However, a trace of fear appeared on the faces of the Transcending Tribulation experts. Although Julie sneak attacked, her strength was revealed when she made a move. Her attack had the strength of an immortal expert behind it. Otherwise, the person from the Ghost Spirit realm would have been able to counterattack. The Transcending Tribulation experts didn't expect Zhao Hai to bring along an immortal expert. Moreover, they could see that her relationship with Zhao Hai wasn't normal. Seeing the Transcending Tribulation experts, Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, that just now is my wife Julie. When the immortal expert from the Ghost Spirit realm came, Julie and I worked together to kill him. Although Zhao Hai's tone downplayed what happened, the words exploded in the minds of the Transcending Tribulation experts. Zhao Hai was talking about killing an immortal stage expert. When did immortal experts get so weak that they can be killed? Even in the war between the 100 Treasures realm and the Giant Spirit realm Fireweaver Alliance, there weren't a lot of immortal experts who fell. Now, Zhao Hai said that he killed one. How could they not be surprised? If they didn't believe that Zhao Hai fought against an immortal expert before, they certainly believed it now. Although they believed Zhao Hai's words, they were still wary and stood a distance away from Zhao Hai. One of the experts looked at Zhao Hai and said, what does Mr. mean? If you don't plan to offend us, then why keep us on this ship? Zhao Hai looked at them and then smiled and said, I need you to stay on the ship for a few days. The main reason is to keep you from telling anyone about what happened. If you swear that you won't tell anyone about the death of the Ghost Spirit realm expert, then I can release you now. As soon as they heard Zhao Hai, The transcending tribulation experts paused for a moment before nodding. Zhao Hai didn't want the ghost spirit realm to know that the death of their representative had something to do with him. This was understandable. The transcending tribulation experts felt relieved. At the same time, they understood that Zhao Hai was positive that he would be able to return alive. If Zhao Hai wasn't, then he wouldn't have brought so many people nor his wives. Also, if Zhao Hai believes he would die, why would he care about the ghost spirit realm's revenge? Naturally not. When they thought of this, they knew that Zhao Hai was confident in surviving while they themselves weren't. If they don't follow Zhao Hai, then it's possible that they wouldn't live. And if they follow Zhao Hai, they cannot leave the ship. If Zhao Hai hadn't kept them back, then they would have returned and told their realms about what happened as soon as possible. It seems like Zhao Hai did indeed have no intentions of offending them. The transcending tribulation experts looked at each other. After that, one of them turned his head to Zhao Hai and said, "So it's this. Mr. really scared us." "Mister, there's no need to worry. This matter will rot in our stomachs. However, I'm afraid we'll have to take advantage of Mister's hospitality for some time." "What does Mister think?" Hearing the transcending tribulation experts, Zhao Hai couldn't help but secretly approve of them. Then he smiled and said, "That would be great. Laura, please prepare a banquet. I'd like to share a few cups with them." Laura complex and immediately brought Meg and the others. Tables were set up on the deck along with food and wine. Mo Shen was also called over. However, Laura and the others immediately retreated after serving the food and wine. The transcending tribulation experts were dumbfounded. They didn't expect Zhao Hai to have beautiful women on the ship, and it seems like these women were Zhao Hai's wives. Because of this, they sat respectfully. They were somewhat afraid of Zhao Hai. They could see that Zhao Hai had the ability to easily kill them all. In any case, the sea expedition was already a suicidal task. If Zhao Hai said that he didn't see anyone, then nobody could find fault with him. No matter what the others thought, Mo Sheng focused on eating the food on the table. On the other hand, Zhao Hai raised his wine glass and said, "Everyone, fate brought us together to participate in this expedition. Please, let me offer this glass to all of you." Everyone smiled. They also raised their glasses and drank the wine. After that, Zhao Hai said, "Misters, please have a taste of my food. It's very delicious." The transcending tribulation experts looked at the table. Although they were a bit greedy for the food, they didn't dare move their chopsticks. After all, they haven't eaten anything since they were young. Zhao Hai didn't think too much as he took his chopsticks and ate. Seeing Zhao Hai eating, the transcending tribulation experts felt that it wasn't good to decline. So they took their chopsticks and ate. After tasting the food, they couldn't help but eat more and more. After the group had their meal, Zhao Hai arranged rooms for the transcending tribulation experts to rest in. Then after that, he returned to the space. Right now the dark clouds have been received by the space. As Zhao Hai thought, the dark cloud will not have any effect on him. Not only was it ineffective, it also gave the space another method of attack. If he fights someone in the future, he can use the dark clouds to cover his opponent so that they couldn't run. However, they hadn't yet encountered the purple fog. However, Zhao Hai believes that the space wouldn't have any problem handling it. With this, the two obstacles of the expedition were gone. Searching the sea was no longer a problem. Seeing Zhao Hai calmly drinking tea, Laura asked, "Brother Hai, why did you keep those transcending tribulation experts?" "It's inconvenient to keep them. Why don't you just kill them all?" Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "I can borrow their identity to look into their own realms. When the time comes, we'll have eyes looking into high-grade realms. I really don't believe that I can't find any clues after looking at the other realms." When Zhao Hai said this, Laura understood what was going on. She smiled and said, "Wouldn't it be better if we just put something on the bodies of those immortal experts?" "Why use the transcending tribulation experts?" Zhao Hai smiled and said, "The immortal experts are too wary. Moreover, their senses are very sharp. For beings as strong as them, even a speck of dust wouldn't escape their notice. But with these transcending tribulation experts, we can have them as our friends from other realms. Our eventual return will be a great contribution. Later on, they wouldn't have a low status. In any case, I'm not short of transcending tribulation undead. I don't need to kill them now. Laura looked at Zhao Hai and said, Brother Hai, what are you planning to do about the 10,000 realm battlefield? Zhao Hai smiled faintly, and Laura knew what he was thinking. Zhao Hai thought about this a long time ago. He wanted to slowly scour through the entire battlefield starting with the 100 Treasures realm. He still hasn't given up on finding clues. Julie's attack on the world of cultivation was probably done by someone else. If this was really the case, then it's possible that this was also the person who made the 10,000 realm battlefield. The battlefield was eternally in a chaotic state. Someone wanted to keep the battlefield like this. They don't want peace to happen. Zhao Hai wanted to go through each realm one by one until he finds something. Chapter 1536 Black Dragon Comes. The reason why Zhao Hai wanted to know if this hidden hand exists was because he wanted to see his current situation. Zhao Hai felt that the 10,000 realm battlefield was similar to a jar of goo worms. The worms kill each other while people watch. If they don't fight, then an enemy would be introduced. The bug race was like this. Therefore, Zhao Hai wanted to nibble through each realm in the 10,000 realm battlefield. He wanted to see if the other party really didn't want the battlefield to be peaceful, and he wanted to see what method they would use to deal with him. Laura and the others looked at Zhao Hai and understood his thoughts. This wasn't the first time that Zhao Hai mentioned the hand behind the curtains. He was still trying to probe the situation. Laura and the others didn't oppose this decision. In fact, they didn't like being treated as chess pieces. If they don't understand the situation, then they wouldn't be able to get rid of this thorn in their heart. Laura looked at Zhao Hai and said, Brother Hai, is it really time? Laura was really worried. Their performance recently had been very dazzling. If some people were paying attention, then they would certainly observe Zhao Hai. If Zhao Hai made another huge move, then the other party might do something. Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, if we don't try to know, then we won't know. If they want to deal with us, they will reveal some clues, then we might use it to track them down. As long as they came to light, we will know what a higher level existence is like. Laura nodded. That is also good. Now, there isn't anything left in the 10,000 realm battlefield that can be used for the space. We already gained all the good things from the 100 Treasures realm, and with the space's ability to level up on its own, the best time to start is right now. Zhao Hai smiled and said, don't worry, we'll proceed step by step. First let's see if we can find anything at sea. Laura and the others looked at the dark clouds. The dark clouds looked like any other cloud, but compared to dark clouds of a rainy day, these clouds covered everything. Supposedly, even immortal experts would need to be cautious upon entering the dark clouds. Moreover, the only thing they could do inside was to get out again. They couldn't afford to die inside. But this could only mean that maybe there's something mysterious in this sea. At this time, Kair suddenly said, Young master, look, there's the poisonous purple fog. Zhao Hai turned his head towards the monitor and saw purple fog appearing in the distance. Zhao Hai replied, let's receive the purple fog first, then we'll see how to proceed. Kair nodded and immediately received some purple fog for the space. Before long, the space issued a prompt. Poisonous gas detected. Poison level high. Extracting poison and integrating it to the space. Integration completed. The space's poison has leveled up. Transcending tribulation experts subjected to this poison wouldn't survive. Transcending tribulation experts will die after 3 days. Severed soul experts would live no more than a month. After being poisoned, severed soul experts would have their lifespan reduced by 100 years. Their vitality would continue to drop after that. Zhao Hai breathed in cold air. He didn't expect the poison to be this lethal. Kair looked at Zhao Hai and said, Young master, there's no need to be surprised. This isn't just because of the purple mist. This is poison mixed with the space's own poisons. Moreover, the space has an antidote, so there's no need to worry. Zhao Hai nodded. Then he said, it won't affect us much. Let's go. Kair nodded and directed the Hell King's ship to move forward. At this time, the display on the monitor changed, showing the deck of the Hell King's ship. The transcending tribulation experts were currently grouped up. Seeing them go out, Zhao Hai couldn't help but know his brows. He moved and appeared on top of the deck. The transcending tribulation experts were currently pale as they looked at the approaching purple fog. Seeing Zhao Hai, one of the pale transcending tribulation experts said, "Zhao Hai, the purple fog is coming. Can we survive?" The person who spoke was named Xiangbo, a member of the puppet realm. Zhao Hai didn't know what his weapon was, but his strength was indeed at the transcending tribulation stage. Zhao Hai looked at Xiangbo and then smiled faintly as he replied, "Don't worry, nothing will happen." Xiangbo relaxed. Then he looked around him and said, "Brother Zhao Hai, your ship is really good. There's nobody in the 10,000 realm battlefield who doesn't know of it." Although he was commending the ship, Zhao Hai could see the anxiety on Xiangbo's face. It wasn't only Xiangbo, the others looked afraid as well. If not for Zhao Hai calmly standing in place, they would have thought of running away. Before long, the purple fog covered the Hell King's ship. However, the fog had no influence on the ship. The ship continued to go forward in a steady manner. When they saw this, Xiangbo and the others couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Xiangbo looked at Zhao Hai with beaming eyes as he said, "With this ship, we might successfully explore the sea." Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "If we're successful, it would be a huge achievement for all of us. A lot of our predecessors failed, only we succeeded." Ha ha ha, everyone was smiling as well. If they really finished the exploration, then their contribution would be big. Seeing everyone's expression, Zhao Hai smiled and said, "But we cannot treat it lightly. Although the infamous purple mist couldn't do anything to us, there should be something else in the sea. It's better for us to be careful." Everyone nodded. Before long, the Hell King's ship passed through the purple fog. They were now quite far away from land. In front of them was an increasing amount of dark clouds. Zhao Hai turned his head to the others and said, "You should all go back to rest. I'll call you over if something happens." As they thought about the increasing danger outside, they nodded and went back to the rooms that Zhao Hai arranged for them. Seeing the others going back, Zhao Hai returned to the space. Upon entering, he found that Kair and the others were looking at the children. The children were currently learning. Although they were at sea, they still needed to attend their classes. But because of their situation, their classes were simplified. Zhao Hai didn't mind it. They currently don't have any encounters at sea, nor did they find any land. There was nothing worth doing at the moment. Time flew by and 2 days have unknowingly passed. 2 days was quite short for cultivators, but in these 2 days, Zhao Hai and the others were already very far into the sea. This area was very different from the shore. The usually sparse dark clouds now covered the entire sky. Moreover, the dark clouds were now very close to the surface. The Hell King's ship was almost sailing on the waters instead of flying on air. The transcending tribulation experts hadn't come out of their cabin since then. After all, 2 days was nothing to cultivators. They can sit for a longer amount of time. As for the children, Zhao Hai didn't treat them badly. He also installed an activity area inside the ship. This way, the children wouldn't feel so uncomfortable during the trip. On this day, as the Hell King's ship flew forward, Kair suddenly said, "Young master, we found something." Zhao Hai stared, then he immediately looked at the monitor. Seeing what was on the screen, Zhao Hai was stunned. The dark clouds rumbled and lightning struck down non-stop. The lightning resembled tribulation lightning. Looking at the dark clouds, Zhao Hai said, "How far is it from us? Can you tell if it's a dark cloud or tribulation cloud?" Kair replied, "It's definitely a dark cloud, not tribulation cloud." The silver needles could no longer enter it. "I don't know what's happening, but based on the space's analysis, it's very likely for beasts to hide in the cloud. We will reach the area in an hour or so." Zhao Hai replied, "Can we go around it?" Kair nodded and said, "We can." "Wait, it seems to be a black dragon. It seems to have found us." "What's this? We're so far away. It's coming over. It's too fast." Zhao Hai looked at the monitor and saw a black snake-like shadow flying towards them, but Zhao Hai was sure that this wasn't a snake. It was because he discovered that it has grown 4 claws. Zhao Hai was certain that it was a golden-clawed dragon. As a Chinese person from Earth, Zhao Hai knew that the Chinese worship dragons. 4-clawed and 5-clawed dragons were all dragons in Chinese mythology. Dragons were very important to the Chinese people. Dragons can rise and hide among the clouds. They can ascend the 9 heavens and call the wind and rain. The dragon that Zhao Hai saw this time was similar to the ones in his memories. Therefore, Zhao Hai was sure that it was a golden dragon, although he didn't know what's happening. Upon seeing the golden dragon, Zhao Hai was certain that it wasn't simple. At the very least, it wasn't related to the transcending tribulation experts on the ship. The transcending tribulation experts don't know that a gold dragon was coming. They also didn't know that lightning was about to strike the Hell King's ship. The Hell King's ship shook lightly. Before they could figure out what was going on, the Hell King's ship rushed towards the dragon. Seeing that its attack was useless, the silhouette of the dragon paused. Then it swung its body as it used its 4 claws to attack the Hell King's ship. However, as the claws hit the Hell King's ship, it suddenly flashed a white light. After a few bursts of electricity, the dragon retrieved its claws. Although the dragon's claws contain lightning, it wasn't tribulation lighting in the end. Because of this, its claws couldn't defeat the Hell King's ship. Despite this, Zhao Hai knew that the dragon just retreated and it would come again. As Zhao Hai thought, although they tried to escape, it was useless. The dragon could find the Hell King's ship when it was an hour away. It was impossible for the ship to circle around the thunderous clouds in just an hour. Lightning can break anything, and the dragon was an embodiment of it. The lightning on its limbs was already invincible, let alone its other abilities. Zhao Hai saw it with his own eyes. A flash of lightning from the breath of the dragon almost broke the shield of the Hell King's ship. It must be known that the Hell King's ship's shield wasn't very simple. Not only did it contain netherworld fire, it also incorporated the dark clouds and the purple mist. Despite that, the Hell King's ship was almost broken by the dragon. This was out of Zhao Hai's expectations. Chapter 1537. Tying up the dragon. The strength of the dragon exceeded Zhao Hai's imagination. It's not just the lightning. Zhao Hai was sure that the close combat ability of the dragon was also very powerful. Just now, the dragon used its dragon claws to grab the ship's shield. It can be said that it was very confident in his paws. But the Hell King's ship's shield wasn't easy to break open. It can also ward off lightning attacks. Because of this, the dragon retreated, but its lightning still lingered. Moreover, the lightning seems to be able to break spiritual force. The black dragon was much stronger compared to most immortal experts. Zhao Hai could see that no normal immortal expert could catch up to the dragon's speed. Zhao Hai could only use the space to run away, otherwise he wouldn't be able to escape. However, Zhao Hai didn't escape. He wasn't planning to expose the space this time. He was preparing to fight the dragon. Zhao Hai waved his hand as numerous cannons stretched out of the ship. Then the ship began firing towards the dragon. The dragon was still stunned since it couldn't destroy the ship's shield and its lightning was useless. As it was dumbfounded, the shells were fired towards it. The dragon swayed its body as it evaded the shells. This gave Zhao Hai a new understanding of its speed. However, Zhao Hai's shells weren't that easy to deal with. These shells could track their enemy. Although the dragon managed to dodge, the shells curved and shot back towards the dragon. The black dragon also noticed this. Lightning appeared on its 4 claws as it attacked the shells. Naturally, the lightning was very powerful. The shells were immediately destroyed. But this time, the figurehead of the Hell King's ship became a battering ram and shot itself towards the dragon. At the same time, he increased the energy supplied by the yin-yang pool to increase the ship's defenses. The cannons didn't stop as it continued to fire shell after shell. The black dragon had just crushed the shells when the battering ram arrived. The dragon stretched another claw to grasp the figurehead. Lightning crackled on the dragon's claws. But how could the Hell King's ship's battering ram be that simple to deal with? As though it was a snake, the battering ram swerved around the dragon's claw and directly struck towards the dragon. With a wave of its arm, the dragon sent lightning from his claw towards the battering ram. However, the lightning missed. The dragon frowned, seemingly annoyed. Then it roared and spat out lightning from its mouth, hitting the battering ram. The battering ram could no longer dodge this time. The lightning was too fast. It had no time to evade. The lightning couldn't be prevented from hitting the battering ram. Zhao Hai's complexion changed. The battering ram was under his control, so when it was struck, Zhao Hai's mind was shaken. If this battering ram wasn't part of liquid silver, he would have been injured. Zhao Hai waved his hand and took a spear out. Then a spear flew out from the Hell King's ship and headed towards the Black Dragon. This was the spear that Zhao Hai received from the immortal expert. This spear had an immortal expert's soul, so it was very powerful. It was as powerful as an immortal expert. After releasing the spear, Zhao Hai controlled the battering ram once more and attacked the dragon. At the same time, he released the 12 metal beasts. The beasts immediately roared and charged towards the dragon. The black dragon was naturally stunned. It didn't think that Zhao Hai would have so many methods. However, it wasn't afraid of Zhao Hai. The dragon's body flashed for a few times before it sucked the surrounding black clouds. The dragon sucked in the surrounding clouds as though it was water. The dark clouds 100 li 50 kilometers around the dragon disappeared. After that, the dragon released the clouds and used them to coat its body. Zhao Hai couldn't understand why the dragon's body flashed and then it absorbed the dark clouds only to spit it out again. What does it intend to do? However, this wasn't the proper time to think about this. Zhao Hai commanded his artifacts to attack the dragon. But before long, Zhao Hai felt that something wasn't right. It was as though the dark clouds were intelligent as they counterattacked the artifacts. Now Zhao Hai understood why the dragon sucked in the clouds. This was to enable it to control the dark clouds. This seems to be one of the dragon's abilities. Zhao Hai also discovered that the dark clouds that the dragon spat out didn't only have intelligence, they could also corrode spiritual force. Zhao Hai's complexion changed. He didn't expect the clouds to undergo this much change after going through the belly of the dragon. Essentially, the dark clouds became the domain of the dragon. Inside that domain, the dragon was invincible. Right, it was a domain. When Zhao Hai thought about domains, he would think about the lower realms. The reason why Zhao Hai didn't use domains in the higher realms was because it wasn't useful here. However, Zhao Hai discovered his mistake. Domains were also quite useful in the higher realms. Moreover, they might be easier to use. At the same time, Zhao Hai was sure that the lower realms domain would be useless. Domains in the higher realms probably formed in other forms. Zhao Hai waved his hand as he withdrew his artifacts from the dark clouds. Then at this time, lightning came out of the dark clouds, attacking the retreating artifacts. Zhao Hai quickly received his artifacts. At the same time, he moved and flew out of the Hell King's ship. Then he performed hand seals as his body emitted golden light. Zhao Hai waved his hand and an invisible sword chi blasted out towards the dark clouds. As this was happening, he also blocked the lightning sent out by the clouds. The sword breath technique was something that Zhao Hai studied for some time. However, he had yet to use it in battle. The sword breath technique was one of the 18 Buddhist techniques. It used invisible sword chi to kill silently and destroy the hardest defenses. The speed of Zhao Hai's battle with the Black Dragon surpassed Xiangbo and the others' imagination. As they were understanding the situation, Zhao Hai already used the Hell King's ship to fight a few rounds with the Black Dragon. When they had just recovered, Zhao Hai had already made his move. Although Zhao Hai attacked the dragon using his sword breath technique, he was also paying attention to the dragon. He wanted to see how useful the technique was against the dragon. In the end, the technique proved to be useful. In fact, it was very useful. The sword chi penetrated through the dark clouds, and the dark clouds couldn't do anything to the sword chi. Zhao Hai was certain that this wasn't because of the sword chi. Instead, it was caused by faith power. It shows once more how useful faith power was. Thinking of this, Zhao Hai imbued his artifacts with faith power. After that, he controlled them to attack the dark clouds once more. The effect was very good. The dark clouds couldn't do anything to the artifacts. Zhao Hai felt relieved. On the other hand, the dragon wasn't doing very well. Although it was agile, the spear was able to match its speed. In addition to Zhao Hai's sword chi, the Black Dragon was restrained even more. The Black Dragon didn't dare meet Zhao Hai's sword chi. Although it had formidable defense, it knew that it couldn't block the sword chi. Because of this, it could only try to evade the attack. It also used lightning to block the sword chi. At this time, Zhao Hai used the sword chi to attack. Just as the black dragon was about to feel relieved, it suddenly discovered that it had fallen into a sword formation. This sword formation was formed out of 10,000 swords. These flying swords didn't attack. Instead, they revolved around a certain orbit like a planet. The black dragon also discovered that it was being attacked by an invisible force. It was being restrained little by little. The black dragon struggled. It wanted to leave the sword formation. Although it didn't know what sword formation it was, it could feel how dangerous it would be to him. The dragon tried to attack the flying swords using its lightning. However, the sword formation seems to be covered by an invisible force. Instead of being destroyed by the lightning, the formation seems to have absorbed some of its strength. Zhao Hai was now observing the sword formation. This 10,000 stellar transformation sword formation wasn't ordinary. Each sword used in it was imbued with faith power. With the addition of faith power, Zhao Hai discovered that the sword formation underwent a great transformation. Compared to before, its strength was much greater, a few levels at least. As soon as it entered the sword formation, the dragon was like a moth trapped in a spider web. It could only struggle in vain inside. Seeing this, Zhao Hai was relieved. The black dragon was indeed formidable. If he didn't have faith power, then he would not be able to deal with the dragon. The strength of this beast was much more powerful compared to most immortal experts. If an ordinary immortal expert were here, they wouldn't be fighting with all their strength. The dark clouds around would suppress the immortal expert. On the other hand, the dark clouds didn't affect the black dragon. In fact, the clouds could be used by the dragon. In other words, the dragon held home advantage in this battlefield. But once the dragon entered the sword formation, its advantage disappeared. It also rendered the black dragon's strength equal to an ordinary immortal expert. In this case, Zhao Hai would have no problem dealing with it. The black dragon could feel that the pressure on it was increasing. The restraint was also becoming more and more powerful. The speed that it was proud of was completely useless here. It's like its hands and feet were tied. Even if it wanted to escape, it wouldn't be able to. This caused the dragon to feel desperate. It didn't think that the toy it saw would turn out to be a predator. The desperation began to pile up and in the end it gave up struggling. Zhao Hai didn't expect the dragon to stop its struggle. He waved his hand and changed the sword formation into a chain and tied down the dragon. After that, he hauled the dragon towards the ship, marking the end of the battle. Chapter 1538. Julie's evolution. Zhao Hai returned to the Hell King's ship as he let out a long breath. To be honest, he was taking quite a risk undergoing this fight. He didn't expect the dragon's lightning to have an effect on the ship's shield. After all, the Hell King's ship has undergone multiple enhancements. The fact that the dragons were close to breaking the shield meant that it was formidable. Most importantly, the dragon could control the dark clouds, which was a handy skill to have. Clouds were everywhere in this region. The fact that they could become the dragon's weapon was terrifying. Fortunately, Zhao Hai has the 10,000 sword formation and faith power to subjugate the dragon. Otherwise, the fight would be in favor of the dragon. Its speed was something that Zhao Hai rarely encountered. As for taking the dragon to the Hell King's ship, it was just a performance. In truth, the dragon was taken to the space. Since Xiang Bo and the others were on the Hell King's ship, Zhao Hai had to deceive them in order to receive the dragon. As Zhao Hai landed on the ship, he heard the space's prompt. Hostile beast detected. Subjugating. Beast subjugated successfully. Dragon-type beast has been detected. Because of its special birth, it can absorb dark clouds and shoot lightning. Extracting genes. Genes extracted. Genes have been used to strengthen the beasts of the space. Because of its special ability to shoot lightning and use the dark clouds, the yin-yang lightning pond has been improved. All weapons using the yin-yang lightning pond can now send out lightning attacks. Zhao Hai stared. He didn't expect the Balk dragon to give so much to the space. With these things, he can now travel the seas freely. At this time, Xiang Bo and the others arrived beside Zhao Hai. All of them were looking at him in fear. It was understandable. Zhao Hai was just too strong. They heard that Zhao Hai was formidable before, but they didn't believe the gap between them was this great. Although they didn't participate in the fight, Xiangbo and the others could clearly see how powerful the dragon was. Despite this, Zhao Hai was still able to subdue the dragon through various means. This allowed them to get a certain understanding about Zhao Hai's strength. Zhao Hai looked at Xiangbo and the others as he smiled and said, "That was dangerous. I didn't expect there to be a beast in the middle of the dark clouds. Moreover, it's quite powerful." Xiangbo nodded and said, "The black dragon was indeed very powerful. It could shroud itself with dark clouds and become stronger. If it weren't for Mr. Zhao Hai's strength, we would have been in great danger. It seems like the people who explored the sea before us have died in the hands of these beasts." Zhao Hai understood what Xiangbo meant. If a black dragon existed among the dark clouds, then other beasts could exist as well. These beasts hold a complete advantage in the dark clouds. The immortal experts who tried to explore the seas before might have ended up being killed by these beasts. Xiangbo's words could also be taken as a reminder for Zhao Hai. Zhao Hai gave a nod and said, "We still need to be careful. Now I'm more curious about the sea. I can't wait to see what we'll find out there." Xiangbo smiled bitterly. Only Zhao Hai had the qualification to say something like that. Zhao Hai looked at everyone and said, "All right, everything's fine now. If you want, you can head back to rest. You can also stay here. I'll go and see the black dragon." Xiangbo looked at Zhao Hai and after hesitating for a bit, he said, "Mister, our puppet realm has methods to subjugate monsters. If you need help, don't hesitate to tell me." Zhao Hai looked at Xiangbo as he smiled and said, "I won't use it in the meantime. I also have some methods to subjugate beasts. If I can't do it, I'll definitely look for you." Zhao Hai knew that Xiangbo had no intentions of stealing the black dragon. He just wanted to pull Zhao Hai closer to himself. Xiangbo nodded and said, "Then we would no longer disturb Mr." Zhao Hai nodded and then turned around and entered the cabins. Then his body disappeared. Seeing Zhao Hai disappear, the others grouped up. Then one of them said, "Xiangbo, do you think Mr. can really subjugate that dragon?" Xiangbo nodded and said, "I think so. Mr. is very strong. Moreover, didn't you notice? Mr. is very careful in his conduct. If he said that he has a method to subjugate beasts, it should be true." The others nodded. One of them sighed and said, "Mr. is really formidable. He was even able to catch that black dragon. I don't know when we'll reach that level." Xiangbo looked at the others and said, "In the past, I heard that Mr. has faith power. I didn't believe it at that time, but no. It seems like it's true. Faith power has infinite uses. Mr. dared to explore them because he has faith power to rely on. Mr. not being affected by the dark clouds should be because of faith power." The others nodded. Faith power was very mysterious, and because of this mystery, it has been elevated to such a high regard. It was especially true for people like Xiangbo and the others. They had unparalleled desire to acquire faith power. Unfortunately for them, they were relatively unimportant people in their respective realms. It was simply impossible for them to acquire faith power, and if they were important, they wouldn't have been sent for this expedition. Thinking of this, the transcending tribulation experts couldn't help but feel dejected. Then suddenly, Xiangbo's eyes shone. He thought about something. With Zhao Hai's strength, he should have great status in the 100 Treasures realm. Once they finished this expedition, he would be promoted once more. If they were on good terms with Zhao Hai, then they might gain a lot of benefits. Thinking of this, Xiangbo suddenly felt that there was a huge thigh in front of him. As long as he hugged it, he might become a powerful expert in the future. The others didn't know what Xiangbo was thinking about. After sighing, they all went back to their own rooms. Only Xiangbo was left behind. He didn't leave for some time. Xiangbo was currently thinking about his relationship with Zhao Hai. If he wanted to be friends with Zhao Hai, then he would need sufficient capital. Xiangbo could feel that Zhao Hai didn't care about him, and he could understand. For nobodies like Xiangbo, people like Zhao Hai simply didn't look at them with his eyes. It's not unreasonable to say that like attracts like, birds of the feather flock together. If you, a commoner, want to become friends with a noble, it would only end in your humiliation. For Xiangbo, Zhao Hai's status was several levels above him. Xiangbo was just a disposable expert in the puppet realm. Meanwhile, Zhao Hai was like Mu Yu, a treasure of the 100 treasures realm. Xiangbo couldn't even be compared to half of Zhao Hai's status. Although Zhao Hai was similarly sent to explore the sea, Xiangbo knew that this was because Zhao Hai was subjected to a political disagreement. As long as he can return, it would be a great contribution to the 100 treasures realm. When the time comes, even the elders of the 100 treasures realm wouldn't be able to touch him. Such a character had limitless future. Who wouldn't want to associate with them? After thinking for half a day and getting nothing, Xiangbo could only sigh as he muttered, "Let's take it step by step." Zhao Hai returned to the space and looked at the black dragon. The black dragon no longer had its fierce aura from before. It was now as docile as a kitten, lying beside Zhao Hai. Zhao Hai turned to Kair and said, "Kair, find a suitable planet that it can live in." Kair nodded and then chose a planet where the dragon can treat as a home. This was very easy to do. Just buy a planet and fill it with dark clouds. After taking care of the dragon's home, Zhao Hai looked at Kair and said, "Kair, how are the children doing?" Kair smiled and said, "They saw you fight against the black dragon. They now worship you." Zhao Hai smiled. At this time, Julie ran over to Zhao Hai and said, "Brother Hai, look, I have new abilities." Then she waved her hand and produced lightning. Zhao Hai stared, then he said, "The black dragon's ability? Can you control the dark clouds as well?" Julie nodded and said, "The dark clouds have no effect on me. Moreover, not only can I use the dark clouds on my bone blades, I can also infuse it with the space's poison." Zhao Hai couldn't help but sigh as he said, "Your evolution ability is really useful. You actually obtained new abilities. I didn't expect the one to benefit the most this time would be you." Julie proudly smiled. Looking at Julie, Zhao Hai was filled with glee. Julie was his woman. If she was happy, then he was happy. It must be said that Laura and the others weren't warriors. What they were skilled in was analysis and management. Only Julie could fight among them. Zhao Hai was certain that Julie was no weaker than him. Even if he used faith power, he still couldn't be sure if he could defeat her. Julie's strongest ability was her evolution. There were a lot of good things inside the space. Moreover, Zhao Hai wasn't stingy towards Julie. Everything that can make her evolve were given to her. Because of this, Julie's evolution has been rapid. Her strength increased rapidly as well. But this evolution also required a certain process. Julie couldn't become stronger in an instant. Although she can release lightning, it wasn't as strong as the black dragons. She still needed time. However, Zhao Hai wasn't in a hurry, and inside the space were numerous places where Julie can sharpen her skills. It wouldn't be long before Julie gets stronger. When the time comes, most immortal experts wouldn't be able to do anything against her. Chapter 1539, Impeachment. After dealing with the Black Dragon, Zhao Hai had nothing else to do. At this time, he was looking at the monitor observing the children. The children were now being taught by the undead teachers. They were currently replaying the fight between Zhao Hai and the Black Dragon. The children exclaimed at every move. They looked quite adorable. Zhao Hai liked these children very much. The same was true for Laura and the others. Zhao Hai actually felt strange about this situation. He had been with Laura and the others for quite some time. However, they had yet to bear children. It was confusing to Zhao Hai and his wives. The space provided them with very healthy bodies. It shouldn't have been a problem for them to have any children. And strangely, they didn't become pregnant. However, Zhao Hai didn't care much about this. In any case, Laura and the others were now strong cultivators. Their lifespans were very long. They could worry about this later on. At this time, Kair looked at Zhao Hai and said, "Young master, take a look at this." Xiangbo was outside for quite some time. He didn't do anything else and just walked back and forth. It seems like he is thinking about something. Zhao Hai stared, then he nodded and said, "I'll go take a look." His body disappeared and returned to the Hell King's ship. He opened the door and went outside. Xiangbo was still walking back and forth thinking about how to make friends with Zhao Hai. Because of this, He had yet to return to his room. Zhao Hai looked at Xiangbo and asked, "Xiangbo, did something happen? What's wrong?" Xiangbo couldn't help but jump upon hearing Zhao Hai's voice. Normally, he would notice if someone was getting close to him, but this time, he failed to notice Zhao Hai. Xiangbo was also too focused on thinking that he didn't notice Zhao Hai's arrival. Upon seeing Zhao Hai, he was somewhat embarrassed. He smiled faintly and said, "Mister, it's you. I just came here because I have nothing to do." "Why did Mister come out? Is something wrong?" Zhao Hai shook his head and said, "Everything's all right. There's no need to worry." Xiangbo sighed and said, "Mister, you mentioned it before. But after we head back, how do you think they would reward us?" Zhao Hai stared, then he shook his head and said, "I really don't know. However, our contribution would certainly be big. They shouldn't reward us poorly." Xiangbo looked at Zhao Hai and bitterly smiled. "Mister, you can fight against immortal experts. Also, you have Mu Yu behind you. If you want, you can choose to not participate in the expedition." "Why did you come?" Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "If I don't want to come, then of course I can choose not to go. In fact, before Elder Mu retired, he told me that Elder Shen might deal with me. Therefore, he told me to go into a closed-door retreat. I can just go out in the future when the expedition is sent over. However, I didn't agree. This is because I want to explore the sea. Although Elder Shen was the one who gave me this task, it was me who chose to go." Hearing Zhao Hai, Xiangbo sighed and said, "So it's like that, no wonder." "Talking about it, it's good to have people watching your back. As for us, we're dispensable people in our realms or have offended someone high up. This is why we're assigned to this task. If not for you, we wouldn't be able to survive." Zhao Hai smiled and said, "That no longer matters. Once we go back and receive our reward, you can rest assured that sooner or later you will also become immortal experts." Xiangbo forced a smile and said, "That's easier said than done. Although we made a huge contribution, we have nobody above us. We would still have a hard time getting good things." "All right. Let's no longer talk about this." Zhao Hai looked at Xiangbo and smiled as he said, "Cultivation is never easy for anyone. You have also gone through multiple hardships to reach where you currently are. Don't think about it too much. A cultivator can only move forward if they are alive. If you stagnate, then you will move backwards. When the time comes, you are doomed to fail. Meeting each other in this expedition is fate. From now on, we are friends. You can come to me if you need any help." Xiangbo, who was racking his brain thinking about how to befriend Zhao Hai, was stunned when he heard this. The reason he said those things to Zhao Hai was because he had nothing else to tell. He wanted to open a topic so that he can establish rapport with Zhao Hai. However, Xiangbo didn't hold much hope at the time. After all, Zhao Hai had a great status. He might say a few things to Zhao Hai that would cause him to leave. But contrary to what he expected, not only did Zhao Hai stay, he also said that they were friends. This was definitely a surprise. Xiangbo recovered and then immediately said, "Mister's words are too polite for someone like me. Meeting you is already a great achievement to me." Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "It's not too polite. I used to be an ascender. Even in the world of cultivation, there aren't a lot of people who want to meet me. Haha. Here, this is a gift for you." After he said that, Zhao Hai flipped his hand and took out a jade box containing 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. Blood ginseng was very precious for cultivation. Not only could it help in cultivation, it also had excellent healing properties. This was especially true regarding very old blood giant. Even in the 10,000 realm battlefield, it was very difficult to find a 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. But for Zhao Hai, these things were nothing that great. He can get as many as he wants inside the space. He can get a 100-year-old ginseng and then accelerate its growth to 1,000 years. Not to mention 1,000-year-old ginseng. The space has several 10,000-year-old blood ginseng. Xiangbo received the jade box and saw a huge human-shaped blood ginseng inside. Xiangbo's complexion couldn't help but change. He hastily closed the jade box and said, "Mister, I cannot accept this. This is too precious." Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, It's fine, just accept it. This thing is useless to me. Go and take a rest. Don't forget to reach out to me if you ever need help in the future." Xiangbo gratefully looked at Zhao Hai. He nodded and carefully stored the jade box. Then he turned around and left. Looking at Xiangbo, Zhao Hai couldn't help but smile. Although he didn't know that Xiangbo wanted to befriend him, he still wanted to become friends with Xiangbo. He has a plan for the future, and befriending Xiangbo was the start. As he stood on the deck of the Hell King's ship, looking at the dark clouds being cut apart, Zhao Hai let out a long breath before he murmured, "Even as a chess piece, I will be a chess piece that cannot be easily manipulated." After he said that, Zhao Hai took another look around. Now, the ship has been covered by the dark clouds. He couldn't see anything at all, and because he understood these dark clouds very well, Zhao Hai knew that his spiritual force couldn't go far. These dark clouds had a strong suppressive effect against the spiritual force of cultivators. Zhao Hai let out a long breath. This sea wasn't easy to search. His current spiritual force wasn't any less than immortal experts. But since he arrived here, he couldn't detect much of the surroundings. Immortal experts would have the same experience, maybe even worse. This was because Zhao Hai wasn't being affected by the dark clouds, which was something the other immortal experts didn't have. Zhao Hai sighed and then returned to the cabins before going to the space. Laura and the others were currently sitting on the sofa and looking at the monitor. The screen showed Xiangbo and the others. Xiangbo was now sitting inside his room holding the jade box that Zhao Hai gave him. He stared at the blood ginseng for a long time before he received it once more. Then he sat in place blankly, thinking about something. The others were sitting cross-legged in meditation. There wasn't much to see, so Laura and the others changed the display to the 100 Treasures Realms headquarters. When the headquarters was shown, Zhao Hai and the others were stunned. This was because they saw someone there. It was Mu Yao. Zhao Hai stared. Mu Yao should be in retreat right now. Why did he come out again? Mu Yao was also followed by a lot of people. These people were severed soul experts and transcending tribulation experts of the 100 Treasures realm. In addition to these people, there were also at least 50 immortal experts. Opposite Mu Yao were Shen Way as well as the immortal experts who were with him. Seeing this, Zhao Hai understood the situation. It seems like Mu Yao was about to impeach Shen Way. Shen Wei's actions were very unfair, causing dissatisfaction among the cultivators of the 100 Treasures realm. Mu Yao was also waiting for an opportunity, and it has came to reveal itself. However, Zhao Hai knew that he wasn't enough to be a reason. So what opportunity did Mu Yao see to allow him to attempt an impeachment? Adjusting the display, Zhao Hai finally knew. It turns out that Shen Wei punished the experts who spoke on behalf of Zhao Hai in the past few days. This caused everyone to be dissatisfied. It must be known that although the elders of the 100 Treasures realm held great power, they couldn't just punish people that easily. They needed to be fair, otherwise people would rise up and impeach them. Although Shen Wei had only been in control for a short time, his suppression of the Mu faction has become so blatant that it began to displease other people. After all, the giant spirit realm and the fire weaver's defeat was caused by the leadership of the Mu faction. The Mu faction's prestige in the 100 Treasures realm was at an all-time high. It's no wonder that Shen Wei's removal of the Mu faction's people from important positions managed to anger people. Additionally, there was Shen Wei's move to embarrass Zhao Hai and then his action against the dissatisfied severed soul experts. The anger that accumulated finally exploded. This allowed Mu Yao to group everyone to impeach Shen Wei. Chapter 1540. No. Shen Wei looked at Mu Yao with resentment. He wished to tear Mu Yao to shreds. However, he knew that he couldn't do this. Even if he made a move, he wouldn't be Mu Yao's opponent. On the other hand, Mu Yao looked calmly at Shen Wei. He knew why Shen Wei hated him. It was because he knew this that he didn't want to confront Shen Wei. Shen Wei's hatred was due to a misunderstanding, and there was no benefit to the 100 Treasures realm if he went against Shen Wei. In any case, Shen Wei's strength was very good. He can be considered to be a good commander. Although he resented the Mu faction and tried to suppress it, this was still within Mu Yao's tolerance. Therefore, Mu Yao endured all this time. But now, Shen Wei actually dared to touch Zhao Hai. How could Mu Yao just endure it this time? If Zhao Hai didn't express that he wanted to explore the sea, then Mu Yao would have raged against Shen Wei. It was now time to turn against Shen Wei, and with a reasonable cause behind him, Mu Yao can suppress Shen Wei in one stroke and let him lose power as an elder. Mu Yao wasn't a good man nor a saint. He didn't act against Shen Wei before because he was afraid of causing damage to the development of the 100 Treasures realm. The Shen faction had a lot of members. If the two factions fight, it would certainly cause turmoil in the 100 Treasures realm, which would be detrimental for the realm. In the past, the times were critical because of the giant spirit realm. Mu Yao had no spare energy to fight against Shen Wei, but now it was different. The giant spirit realm has been dealt with and the 100 Treasures realm was at a golden age. With Shen Wei offending almost every transcending tribulation expert, this was a good opportunity. Shen Wei looked at Mu Yao and then bitterly said, "Mu Yao, what are you doing? Why did you bring all these people?" Mu Yao replied in a cold voice, "Shen Wei, as an elder, it's impossible for you to not know why I came. To be honest, I'm very disappointed in you. I never expected you to be something like this. This time, everyone is here to impeach you." Shen Wei replied, "Impeach me? I didn't do anything wrong. You can't impeach me." Mu Yao coldly replied, "Shen Wei, what does the Elders' Assembly do? It manages the 100 Treasures realm and steers it into a stronger position. It's not a place where you can do whatever you want. Why did you use it as an opportunity to punish people you find unpleasant? Most importantly, why did you send Zhao Hai to explore the sea?" Shen Wei looked at Mu Yao, then he sneered and said, "To put it bluntly, you came because of Zhao Hai. Why can't Zhao Hai participate in the exploration of the sea? You might be fond of him, but I'm not. He just joined the 100 Treasures realm, so why should he enjoy so much privilege?" Mu Yao, doing this, aren't you using public sentiment for your private gains? Mu Yao shook his head at Shen Wei as he said, "Shen Wei, oh Shen Wei, you're truly blinded by hatred. I gave Zhao Hai privileges because he deserved those privileges. Because of your hatred towards me, you didn't came to the headquarters in the battle against the Fire Weavers. You don't know about Zhao Hai at all. You don't know what he did for the 100 Treasures realm, nor his importance to the realm. Your treatment of Zhao Hai turned everyone's heart cold." Shen Wei swept the cultivators behind Mu Yao with his eyes. What he saw caused his heart to get a bad feeling. He found out that the cultivators behind Mu Yao had a look of approval on their faces. They think that what Mu Yao said was right. This caused Shen Wei to be somewhat uneasy. He didn't really know much about Zhao Hai. He also participated in some battles in the war against the Fire Weavers, but because he didn't want to meet Mu Yao, he didn't visit the headquarters. He just stayed in the 100 Treasures realm and would only come out when there were orders. It was precisely because he didn't come to the headquarters that he didn't know the identity of Zhao Hai, and due to his prejudice against Mu Yao, he didn't pay any attention to any information about Zhao Hai. He always thought that the information would be false. But now it seems like this wasn't the case. Was there really something with Zhao Hai? The uneasy feeling in Shen Wei's heart increased as he thought of this. However, Shen Wei also knew that this wasn't the time to show weakness. If he did, then he would be admitting that he was wrong, and he wasn't prepared to bow his head towards Mu Yao. Shen Wei coldly snorted and said, "That's just your words. Who knows if Zhao Hai is really deserving like you said?" Mu Yao looked at Shen Wei as he sighed. It seems like Shen Wei was truly blinded by his hatred, and he had yet to recover. Thinking of this, Mu Yao couldn't help but say, "Shen Wei, there are some things that cannot be discussed outside. Let's head inside the conference hall and talk about it. All immortal experts, follow me inside." After that, he entered the conference hall along with the other elders. Despite this, the severed soul experts and the transcending tribulation experts stayed outside. They were waiting for the conclusion. They wanted Shen Wei to step down. Mu Yao entered the conference hall and then invited everyone to sit down. After looking at the immortal experts, Mu Yao said, "I think there's still some people who have the same idea as Elder Shen. Everyone thinks that I gave Zhao Hai his privilege because of his military exploits. In fact, this isn't the case. You might not know this, But besides Zhao Hai's space abilities, he also has the ability to decompose and recycle materials. This ability is something that not a lot of people know. Mu Yao's words caused several elders to be surprised. An ability to decompose materials was very wanted in the 10,000 realm battlefield. Each realm that can obtain this ability will experience explosive growth. Shen Wei's expression also changed. He didn't expect Zhao Hai to have this valuable ability as well. Mu Yao looked at everyone and said, "Didn't everyone wonder why the 100 Treasures realm suddenly obtained the water refining technique? It came from Zhao Hai. Didn't you wonder how the realm was able to make fake spirit snake needles? It was because of Zhao Hai. The giant spirit treasure ship, the blueprint was given by Zhao Hai. The Fireweaver rifles and the cannons that we have right now, all of these were because of Zhao Hai's ability. Just these things alone mean a lot to the 100 Treasures realm. In this case, is it wrong to give great benefits to Zhao Hai?" The immortal experts nodded. If these things were given by Zhao Hai, then there's no problems in giving him rich benefits. Looking at the crowd, Mu Yao continued, "There's one thing that you need to know. Zhao Hai used his ability to recycle the waste materials on Yan planet. Some of the materials he managed to recover are now exhausted in the 10,000 realm battlefield. The materials he recovered are enough for the 100 Treasures realm to use for countless years. With such contributions, not to say privileges or a planet, it's not excessive if we gave him much more." Boom! Mu Yao's words exploded in the minds of the people present. These immortal experts were immediately stunned. They knew exactly what Yan planet meant for the 100 Treasures realm. It was a place where rejected and failed refining materials were thrown into. Hearing that these waste materials were turned into usable resources, the elders couldn't help but be startled. Mu Yao watched everyone and didn't talk for some time. For a while, the room was silent. After a moment, Mu Yao said, "I have turned Yan planet into a forbidden area now. Only a few people are allowed to deliver waste material to the planet, and they cannot see much of the planet. Zhao Hai will periodically visit the planet in order to recycle the waste materials and make them into usable resources. Now all of you should understand why I gave Zhao Hai so many benefits." They understood. If they didn't, then they were idiots. Shen Wei's expression turned dark. He didn't expect the situation to be like this. Seeing that the crowd was quiet, Mu Yao said, "If you don't believe me, you can go to Yan planet and take a look. The materials are still there. Also, Shen Wei, I did indeed kill your disciple. As for the reason why, you should be aware of it. This decision isn't only up to me, but it was made after the deliberation of the 10 Elder Assembly." The elders present stared when they heard this. They clearly knew what the 10 Elder Assembly was. This 10 Elder Assembly only happens if something important needs to be decided upon. 10 groups of elders would be invited and everyone would discuss the matter. If it wasn't important, this meeting couldn't be called upon. The power of the 10 Elder Assembly was more than a normal group of elders. A lot of people knew about the death of Shen Wei's disciple. They also suspected that it was because of Mu Yao. However, they didn't expect this matter to involve a 10 Elder Assembly. If this was the case, then what happened to Shen Wei's disciple? Why did the 10 Elder Assembly decide to kill him? The other immortal experts looked at Mu Yao in confusion. Seeing the crowd looking at him, Mu Yao elaborated, "When out on a mission, Shen Wei's disciple has been abducted by an elder of the giant spirit realm. After he was captured, he was taken to their headquarters. Then 10 immortal elders of the giant spirit realm worked together to turn him into a puppet to come back as a spy. We discovered it later on. After the 10 Elder Assembly made their decision, they gave the task to me to accomplish because of my enmity with Shen Wei. This will hide the matter from the giant spirit realm. We never revealed it outside. Now that the giant spirit realm has been driven out of the 10,000 realm battlefield, I can now reveal it to you." Chapter 1541, Startling Changes to the Clouds. Everyone was stunned, especially Shen Wei. As soon as he heard Mu Yao, his complexion couldn't help but change. He angrily roared, "Nonsense! Zheng'er is not that kind of person." Zheng'er, whose name was Shenjing, was Shen Wei's disciple who was killed. At this time, a sigh was heard. "Elder Shen, What Elder Mu said is correct. It was indeed a decision made by the 10 Elder Assembly at that time, and this old man is one of the participants. Everyone turned towards the direction of the voice and saw an elder sitting at the back. He looked quite old with his hair and eyebrows already white. His face also had elderly spots. Seeing this person, everyone couldn't help but believe Mu Yao's words. Everyone knew who this old man was. He was a famed expert of the 100 Treasures realm, known for his good-heartedness. He didn't form his own faction nor have any enmity with people. Although he didn't have any famous disciples, his connections were pretty rich. It was impossible for this person to lie, so he was certainly telling the truth. In other words, Mu Yao wasn't lying. Shen Zheng had indeed turned traitor to the 100 Treasures realm. Upon hearing this old person, Shen Wei's bones turned to jelly. He felt his strength being sapped. Mu Yao glanced at Shen Wei, then to the others and said, "This time, I didn't want Zhao Hai to explore the sea. I already told him about the dangers, but he still took the task. He wanted to explore it. We can say that he had the intention to go there from the beginning." Everyone stared. They didn't think that Zhao Hai would want to explore the sea. They couldn't help but talk among themselves. Mu Yao continued, "Even if Zhao Hai wanted to explore the sea, Elder Shen still made a mistake on this matter. Following the decision of the majority, Elder Shen Wei, you will be removed from your position. Do you agree?" Shen Wei's eyes lost its spirit as he turned to Mu Yao. After some time, he said, "You said Zhao Hai wanted to explore the sea? Is he confident of his survival?" Mu Yao stared. He didn't think Shen Wei would ask this, but he still replied, "Zhao Hai is a cautious person. He should be able to safely return." Shen Wei breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at Mu Yao and said, "This Shen Wei has never accepted you, Mu Yao. However, you're willing to take the blame for other people and are patient with me. This Shen Wei is ashamed. I have nothing to say about my impeachment. As long as Zhao Hai returns safely, then this Shen Wei will be assured." Shen Wei apologizes to you. After giving Mu Yao a bow, he turned and bowed to the other elders. "This Shen Wei has been selfish and is not suitable to become an elder. Everyone, from now on, I will return to Shen Planet and close up. I ask everyone to look after the headquarters on my behalf." Shen Wei walked away after speaking. Mu Yao looked at Shen Wei's departing back and sighed. He didn't expect Shen Wei to be such a gentleman. Another person who didn't expect this outcome was Zhao Hai. Through the Spaces monitor, Zhao Hai was able to see the entire thing. To be honest, he had a bad impression of Shen Wei. In his eyes, Shen Wei was a selfish person who was blind to the bigger picture. However, it seems like this wasn't the case. Shen Wei was without a doubt loyal to the 100 Treasures realm. He was only blinded by hatred before. Zhao Hai let out a long breath. No matter what, the dispute in the 100 Treasures realm has been resolved. He no longer has anything to worry about in the future. As long as he safely returns, the 100 Treasures realm would be fine. Zhao Hai adjusted the monitor's image towards the billowing dark clouds. They could also see purple fog intermittently. But compared to the dark clouds, the poisonous cloud was much less by a couple of times. Kair was quite busy at this time. She was focused on taking care of the children. The children's courses weren't much worse compared to back in Blue Tree Planet. The only thing that changed was that their classrooms were now in the Hell King's ship. Zhao Hai didn't manage Kair. He just stared at the screen. Right now, the image on the screen has zoomed out. The Hell King's ship was depicted as a green dot. Besides the green dot that was the Hell King's ship, the entire screen was filled with dark clouds. Despite looking at the monitor, Zhao Hai's mind was in another place. He was currently thinking about the Black Dragon. The dark clouds were able to nurture the Black Dragon. Does this mean that there were other beasts living here? What was the Black Dragon's level compared to these other beasts? The realms in the 10,000 realm battlefield had little to no understanding regarding the sea. Nobody knew how big it was, nor did anyone know what's in it. The dark clouds and the purple mist were natural barriers dividing the 10,000 realm battlefield into two different worlds. Right now, Zhao Hai was in this unexplored world and it seems to be bigger than the rest of the 10,000 realm battlefield. As Zhao Hai was thinking about this, something red suddenly appeared on the monitor. Moreover, This red wasn't a dot, but a large area instead. Zhao Hai stared, then he immediately enlarged the display. The enlarged image startled him once more. This was because what he saw was far from what he expected. Clouds. It was actually a huge group of clouds. This cloud wasn't black, but it was snow white instead. The presence of white clouds were normal anywhere else, but it was quite special amidst the dark clouds. After seeing dark clouds for a long time, the white clouds became too eye-catching. Zhao Hai immediately moved and appeared among the white clouds. As soon as he appeared, he was dumbfounded. This was because the white clouds contained a lot of spiritual qi. It was not much different compared to the mainland. In fact, the spiritual qi was richer in this place. What stunned Zhao Hai the most was that there seems to be a shield at the end of the clouds. The shield separated the white and the dark clouds, and amidst the white clouds, Zhao Hai was able to see trees that looked like cotton candy. What Zhao Hai saw was a tree. It had a trunk as well as branches, but in place of leaves, it had clouds. It looked like a painting that children would draw where a tree had a trunk, a branch, and then semicircles describing the leaves. Zhao Hai moved and arrived next to the tree. He reached out and felt the softness of the leaves. However, despite its texture, the cloud-like leaves were quite tough. It seems to be covered by a layer of protection. Zhao Hai looked at the cloud trees, speechless. The world was truly strange, even things like these existed. At this time, Zhao Hai suddenly felt something move under his feet. When he looked down, he saw a mouse under him. This thing wasn't afraid of him at all. Most importantly, although it looked like a mouse, it had cloud-like fur covering its body, and it seems like its cloud-like fur was moving. It looked very cute. Zhao Hai squatted down and reached out towards the mouse. However, it seems like the mouse didn't want to be touched. It suddenly vanished and reappeared in a cloud tree, its beady eyes still staring at Zhao Hai. Zhao Hai couldn't help but smile. This little thing was quite smart, but its presence here was strange. What was its name? Cloud Beast? Cloud Mouse? As Zhao Hai was thinking about this, a loud voice was suddenly heard. Who dares enter my orchard? When the voice fell, a shadow appeared from a distance. This person had a formidable aura. Unexpectedly, he was a severed soul expert. Zhao Hai looked at the person. This person had white hair as well as white eyebrows. He had white clothing on while his skin was white also. Besides his eyes, everything about him was white. He was quite dazzling. However, Zhao Hai was sure that this person wasn't old. It may be because of this place that he looked like this. The person also saw Zhao Hai and was surprised. He stared at Zhao Hai while Zhao Hai stared at him. The two looked at each other and nobody spoke for some time. After a moment, the person asked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Zhao Hai stared, then he smiled faintly as he cupped his fist and said, "I have seen your excellency. My name is Zhao Hai and I came from the 10,000 realm battlefield. I didn't know that this is your orchard. Please excuse me." The person looked at Zhao Hai and said, "You're from the 10,000 realm battlefield?" Zhao Hai nodded, "Yes." Just as Zhao Hai's words fell, the person suddenly roared, "Then die." Then he threw himself towards Zhao Hai with a long sword in his hand. The sword was entirely white and exuded cold sparkles. It could be seen at a glance that it wasn't ordinary. The person quickly arrived before Zhao Hai as he slashed the sword towards Zhao Hai's throat. Zhao Hai lifted his hand and grasped the sword while wearing a metal glove. The sword was grasped so firmly that it was very hard to budge. Zhao Hai looked at the person and coldly said, "Your Excellency, I have no intention of being your enemy. Why did you suddenly want to kill me?" The person looked at Zhao Hai's hand holding his sword. His complexion changed. Then he coldly snorted and said, "The people from the 10,000 realm battlefield were never good people. They come here only to plunder and kill. They kill everyone they come across." Zhao Hai stared, then he asked, "Your Excellency, you have seen people from the 10,000 realm battlefield?" When? The person coldly snorted as he retreated. Another sword appeared in his hand, but this time, the sword was a heavy one. It was 1.5 meters long and 30 centimeters wide. It looked like a plank of wood in the person's hand. Chapter 1542, Deceitful Go Ling. The man held his big sword and yelled as he slashed towards Zhao Hai. As the person waved his sword, Zhao Hai noticed the surrounding white clouds fluctuating violently. After that, the clouds gathered as though being directed by the big sword. All of it was pouring towards Zhao Hai. Zhao Hai smiled faintly. Then he took a deep breath and threw out a punch. The man's sword wasn't a flying sword but a sword meant for close combat instead. However, Zhao Hai didn't meet the attack head-on. Instead he evaded and then punched the man's side. Although the person was wielding a huge sword, he was still very agile. Seeing Zhao Hai's fist, he immediately changed the sword's direction. The two exchanged moves quickly. However, the man understood that Zhao Hai had the upper hand and was just holding back. Otherwise, he would have already lost. The man wasn't a person who can't afford to lose. At first glance, Zhao Hai didn't come with malicious intent. He took his sword back as he retreated 50 meters away. Then he looked at Zhao Hai and asked once more, "Are you really from the 10,000 realm battlefield?" Zhao Hai smiled and said, "Of course I am, mister. How did you know about the 10,000 realm battlefield?" "I haven't seen anyone from the battlefield that looks like mister." The man looked at Zhao Hai and said, "You can't have seen us. Our knowledge about the 10,000 realm battlefield came accidentally as well. In this sea of clouds, there are countless places like my orchard." Hundreds of years ago, while someone from the Sea of Clouds was hunting beasts, he came upon a dying cultivator. "The cultivator looks just like you. That person is from the 10,000 realm battlefield." Because the people from the Cloud Sea are ignorant about the battlefield, they were naturally curious. They treated that person like an honored guest and had him stay in Cloud City. But they didn't expect that person to be heartless and cruel. After he recovered, he killed and robbed his saviors. In the end, several experts worked together to deal with him. If he wasn't killed, then the entire Cloud City would have been destroyed. Zhao Hai stared. He looked at the person and asked, "It shouldn't be like this." Every 50 years, the 10,000 realm battlefield would send people to explore the Sea of Clouds. "The people who come here aren't killers." The person looked at Zhao Hai and said, "Are you really from the 10,000 realm battlefield? Tell me what the battlefield is." Zhao Hai didn't hide anything from him and revealed the situation of the battlefield. After hearing this, the person said, "No wonder you're robbers. That place is basically a bandit's den." When he heard this, Zhao Hai couldn't help but bitterly smile. The person didn't speak wrongly. The place was truly a bandit's lair. It's a place where a huge bandit would rob from the small bandit and everyone were bandits. As long as they saw something good for the taking, like this orchard, the cultivators would no doubt want to rob it. And if Zhao Hai wasn't wrong, that person must have been an immortal expert. Besides immortal experts, most people wouldn't be able to make it this far. Zhao Hai sighed. Then he said, "That place is indeed a bandit's den. However, it's a place where the law is rob or be robbed. In order to survive, you need to be strong. It's not as peaceful as here." The person looked at Zhao Hai, then he coldly snorted and said, "What's different?" "The same is true for this place. This orchard grows cloud fruits. Once eaten, these fruits can increase your cultivation. However, this orchard attracts cloud beasts. If you don't have enough strength, the cloud beasts will attack you. If you aren't strong enough, you will be robbed." Originally, that person offended a great clan and was sent here. In the end, it was a situation where a big bandit kills a small bandit. Zhao Hai stared, then he looked at the person in confusion and said, "Then why did you immediately try to kill me?" "And you even added the story about the person from the 10,000 realm battlefield." "We aren't that different." The person coldly snorted and said, "This is my orchard. I can say whatever I want." Upon hearing this, Zhao Hai couldn't help but feel blood rushing to his head. He had never met such an unreasonable person before. This person's character was very weird. Zhao Hai looked at the person and said, "Your Excellency, I didn't come with evil intentions. If you don't want me here, I can leave." The person looked at Zhao Hai, then he suddenly laughed as he said, "I think you have a good temperament. Come, let's have a drink. I have freshly brewed cloud fruit wine. It's very delicious." Zhao Hai looked at the person, then he smiled faintly and said, "Thank you very much, Your Excellency." Then he approached the person in a carefree manner. Seeing Zhao Hai's action, the person couldn't help but laugh as he patted Zhao Hai's shoulder and said, "You're quite refreshing." After he said that, he led Zhao Hai and flew. Before long, the two arrived before a house. Seeing this house, Zhao Hai couldn't help but be in a daze. The house looks like a huge cloud, except it had doors and windows on it. Looking at Zhao Hai's dazed expression, the person smiled and said, "This is my cloud house. In the Cloud Sea realm, this is the most common type of house. Mister, please come in." Zhao Hai quickly followed the person in. The house wasn't small and it was divided into several rooms, but at this time, Zhao Hai was in a living room more than 10 square meters big. It was very spacious. There weren't any furniture in the room but instead fluttering white clouds. The person asked Zhao Hai to sit on a cloud as he sat down as well. Then he cupped his fist and said, "This one is known as Go Ling. Meeting Mr. Today is fate. Please have a cup of my cloud fruit wine." Then he waved his hand and took out a white cloud. Then he grabbed the top of the cloud and opened it. As soon as he did that, an intoxicating fragrance filled the room. After that, Go Ling grabbed a clump of cloud and then pinched it a couple of times before pouring wine over it. The cloud that he pinched became a wine glass. Zhao Hai observed Go Ling's movements. He didn't expect the Cloud Sea realm's clouds to have too many uses. This broadened his vision. Seeing Zhao Hai staring at him, Go Ling smiled and said, "Mister, these clouds are called transforming clouds. They are clouds that have been refined. You can make anything you want out of them. Mister can give it a try." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he grasped at a nearby cloud and took a clump. The cloud was weightless. Zhao Hai pinched the cloud and formed it into a cup similar to the one in front of him. Go Ling saw this and then smiled as he poured Zhao Hai some liquor. The glass in Zhao Hai's hand still had the texture of a cloud, but when the wine was poured over, the liquid stayed inside and didn't spill out at all. Zhao Hai was surprised. Seeing this, Go Ling couldn't help but laugh as he said, "Mister, please." Zhao Hai gave a nod and then drank the wine inside the cup. The wine smoothly flowed through Zhao Hai's throat. The fragrance of the liquor lingered for some time. Zhao Hai couldn't help but shout, "Good wine." Go Ling laughed and said, "If you like it, have some more." Then he poured Zhao Hai another glass. Naturally, Zhao Hai wouldn't decline. The two happily exchanged several cups. Suddenly, Zhao Hai's complexion changed. His face turned to anger as he looked at Go Ling and said, The wine was poisoned?" Go Ling laughed and said, "Of course it's poisoned. You bumpkins from the 10,000 realm battlefield. How could you fathom the wondrous arts of the Cloud Sea territory? Ha ha ha. While the wine you drank is poisonous, I have been drinking peerlessly good wine." Zhao Hai's complexion turned whiter, becoming as white as Go Ling's. Looking at Zhao Hai, Go Ling sneered, "What I told you before was a lie. There was indeed someone from the 10,000 realm battlefield that ended up here and was rescued. However, we sealed his cultivation and turned him into a slave. He told us everything about the 10,000 realm battlefield. Ha ha ha. What an idiot. You really think you can get benefits here? Let me tell you, if the 10,000 realm battlefield is a bandit's den, the Cloud Sea territory is an even bigger bandit lair. If it weren't for the dark clouds separating us, our Cloud Sea army would have already killed their way to the 10,000 realm battlefield." Zhao Hai looked at Go Ling and said, "I didn't expect it to be like this." Go Ling laughed and said, "It's been many years since I've caught a slave from the 10,000 realm battlefield. I can definitely sell you for a good price, enough for me to buy more orchards." As Go Ling was reveling in his achievement, Zhao Hai's voice was heard, "I won't be a slave of the Cloud Sea territory." Go Ling stared. He discovered that something wasn't right with Zhao Hai. He turned his head to see that Zhao Hai was coldly looking at him. However, Zhao Hai's complexion turned normal. It was as if he wasn't poisoned in the first place. As Go Ling was stunned, he suddenly felt a pain in chest. He looked down to see a sword poking out of him. He felt his heart being torn into two and couldn't help but vomit out blood. Surprisingly, his blood was also white. Go Ling looked at Zhao Hai. His mouth moved but no words came out. In the end, his body lost its balance and fell down. The The light in his eyes had disappeared. Zhao Hai coldly snorted and waved his hand. Dark mist wrapped around Go Ling's body. Once the dark mist vanished, a new undead stood in front of Zhao Hai. Chapter 1543, Not Enough Levels. Zhao Hai looked at the undead standing before him. This undead was naturally Go Ling. As soon as he ingested the wine, Zhao Hai immediately discovered that there was poison in it. However, he didn't act on it. He had the space detoxify it first. To be honest, the poison wasn't that strong and wasn't life-threatening. It just made people unable to use their spiritual force. It was nothing remarkable. After discovering this, Zhao Hai wanted to see what Go Ling would do next. This Go Ling was quite interesting. He was aggressive in the beginning and even wanted to kill him. But when he saw that he couldn't do anything to Zhao Hai, he immediately pretended to be kind. This caused him to act and poison the alcohol. Then, upon hearing Go Ling later on, Zhao Hai confirmed that the Cloud Sea realm wasn't a good place. It might be more chaotic than the 10,000 realm battlefield. Looking at the undead in front of him, Zhao Hai asked, Go Ling, are the people of the Cloud Sea territory ascenders from the lower realms? Go Ling shook his head and said, replying to the young master, we're not. The people from the Cloud Sea territory are natives born here. According to legend, the Cloud Sea territory had nobody in the beginning. Afterwards, the spiritual chi of the clouds gave birth to many things, and in the end, we were created. Zhao Hai nodded. The situation of the Cloud Sea territory was quite special. It's impossible for them to be ascenders nor people from outside. However, Zhao Hai didn't expect there to be natives of the 10,000 realm battlefield. How many years did it take before humans appeared on Earth? The 10,000 realm battlefield was a subspace made by other people. Not only did it give birth to people, it gave birth to people who can cultivate. In this case, how old was the 10,000 realm battlefield? Thinking of this, Zhao Hai's scalp couldn't help but tingle. He looked at Go Ling and said, when did cultivation begin to exist here? Go Ling shook his head and said, I don't know, nobody tried to find out. Zhao Hai replied, what cultivation method does the Cloud Sea territory use? How are you related to cloud beasts? What are cloud fruits? Go Ling answered, the cultivation methods of the Cloud Sea territory are about the same as those in the 10,000 realm battlefield. As for the cloud beasts, they exist here in the territory. Capturing these beasts can help with our cultivation. Generally, these beasts stay inside the clouds, but these beasts would often be attracted to White Cloud Islands. Zhao Hai stared. What do cloud beasts look like? Zhao Hai asked this because he felt that the black dragon that he caught was probably one of these cloud beasts. Go Ling turned his hand and took out a white token. He handed it over to Zhao Hai and said, young master, this is the cloud token. The Cloud Sea territory uses it to record everything. Inside the token are all the cloud beasts currently discovered. Please have a look. Zhao Hai nodded and received the token before searching it with his spiritual force. The information stored inside immediately entered his brain. This was a very detailed record of every cloud beast along with their strength. There's also their benefit to people as well as methods to subdue them. Zhao Hai looked through the list one by one. These cloud beasts come in all shapes and forms. Some were small like bugs while some were as huge as dragons. They all live in what they call the endless black clouds. Once these cloud beasts were captured, the energy they absorbed from the black clouds could be transformed into spiritual chi. It was precisely because of this that cloud beasts were quite famous in the Cloud Sea territory. Zhao Hai also found information about the black dragon he captured. The black dragon was called Thunder Dragon. It was a powerful and dangerous cloud beast. Average immortal experts wouldn't dare catch it. Zhao Hai stored the cloud token before looking at Go Ling and said, Go Ling, tell me about White Cloud Islands. Go Ling replied, White Cloud Islands are footholds in the Cloud Sea territory. People from the Cloud Sea territory cannot just explore it freely. We need to use cloud ships in order to traverse it. And even with a cloud ship, we cannot go too far. But in White Cloud Islands, We can go wherever we want. We don't know how large the Cloud Sea territory is or how many White Cloud Islands there are. These White Cloud Islands vary in sizes and they usually grow plants. Some of these plants are cloud fruit trees. These fruits can be eaten and turned into wine. In some bigger White Cloud Islands, they also grow other things such as cloud rice or cloud vegetables. There are also cloud crystals. These crystals can be used to refine medicine or be ingested directly. Because of this, every White Cloud Island discovered are occupied by people as a place to cultivate. A group's strength depends on how many White Cloud Islands they hold. Zhao Hai understood that although Go Ling and the others were residents of the Cloud Sea territory, they should have all been born in these White Cloud Islands. The territory was filled with dark clouds, making it impossible for the people of the territory to freely explore it. These White Cloud Islands were akin to sanctuaries that allowed people to thrive in. Zhao Hai nodded and said, "What about these transforming clouds?" Go Ling replied, "Transforming clouds are ordinary white clouds that the people of the territory refine. These clouds can be shaped into any form. Although they look like clouds on the outside, they are all perfectly usable. They are the main tools of the people in the Cloud Sea territory." Zhao Hai frowned and said, "If everyone in the Cloud Sea territory used the white clouds, then wouldn't they run out?" Go Ling answered, "Young master, the white clouds are growing all the time. The speed at which we use them is far less than its generation. There aren't any problems with us using them." Zhao Hai stared. He didn't expect it to be like this. He looked at Go Ling and said, "Whoa, what about the weapon that you use? What are they made of?" Go Ling replied, "All weapons that we use are refined from the bones of cloud beasts. After refining them, the beast bones become very hard. They also carry very powerful might." Zhao Hai gave a nod. "So it's like that, right? How to use the cloud beasts as well as the process to make transforming clouds. Also, write everything you know about the Cloud Sea territory." Go Ling nodded before he was sent to the space. Actually, there's no need for Go Ling to write anything down. After leveling up, the space's abilities had been further improved. Undead like Go Ling can directly input their memories into the space's database. This was a lot more convenient than writing down. Zhao Hai stood in Go Ling's orchard and looked at the cloud fruit trees. He waved his hand and sent a whole tree as well as a clump of white cloud to the space. After the white clouds and the tree was sent to the space, a prompt was heard. "Special white clouds detected. It can grow on its own and contains a large quantity of spiritual chi as well as life force. As it grows, it can also produce spiritual force. Special white cloud fruit-bearing tree detected. Its fruits can be used to brew alcohol. It has a high amount of spiritual chi." Zhao Hai didn't expect the white clouds to have additional use. It seems like he found a treasure this time. At this time, another prompt was heard. "Animal living in white clouds discovered." The animal can transform into mist and return to its original form. Extracting abilities. Abilities extracted. Adding abilities to the animals to the space. The ability has also been integrated into the host's body. Zhao Hai stared. He didn't really think that there would be such a thing. Could his body really transform into a cloud and reorganize? With a thought, Zhao Hai's body vanished into mist and reformed itself. Zhao Hai was stunned. He immediately tried it again and found out that his body had become a white cloud. Then he used his spiritual force to move his body towards another place. Zhao Hai smiled. This ability was good, but it wasn't very useful for him. He returned to the space and found Laura and the others looking at a cloud in the middle of the room. Zhao Hai can see that it was a transforming cloud. Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, "What's the matter? You all like this thing?" Laura turned her head to Zhao Hai and said, "Brother Hai, let's make more of this cloud, all right?" Zhao Hai replied, "You can talk to Kair about that. There's a lot of white clouds outside. You can make as much as you want." Zhao Hai was naturally referring to Go Ling's White Cloud Island. Since Go Ling has no need for it, then naturally Zhao Hai wouldn't be polite. Laura and the others turned to Kair. Seeing the gazes on her, Kair smiled and said, "All right, this White Cloud Island isn't that big, we can just use it." Originally, I wanted to make the island into a foothold into the Cloud Sea territory. We can establish a transmission formation here so that we can return from the 100 Treasures realm." Laura stared, then she said, "This will be an issue. With Brother Hai's strength, he wouldn't be able to digest all of the Cloud Sea territory. We might as well tell the 100 Treasures realm." Zhao Hai smiled bitterly and said, "Of course I can't digest the entire territory. Even the 100 Treasures realm can't do it. Once our people come, they can only move into this island. If they leave this island, they would be finished. The cultivators in the Cloud Sea territory will also come to this island soon." "Alright, let's stop talking about this. Let's see first how many islands there are in this territory and then send our report. Let the people back in the 10,000 realm battlefield deal with it. In any case, we can also create a white cloud planet inside the space." Hearing Zhao Hai, Laura and the others smiled. There really isn't anything in the Cloud Sea territory, apart from White Cloud Islands. There's nothing else to take note of. White Cloud Islands were the flesh and blood of the Cloud Sea territory. While looking at the monitor, Lizzie turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Big Brother Hai, will you inform Xiangbo and the others about this? I'm afraid this isn't something we can keep as a secret." Zhao Hai knit his brows and said, "This matter needs to be thought out. We can tell them, but after we report to the 100 Treasures realm. Let's ask them for advice first." Lizzie and the others nodded. At this time, Kair turned to Zhao Hai and said, "Young master, we should take some of these white clouds to the universal scanner to be decomposed and integrated into liquid silver." Zhao Hai's eyes lit up as he said, "Good idea. Let's do that." Kair smiled faintly and immediately sent a clump of white clouds to the universal scanner. But this time, they were left disappointed. They were given a prompt that the level of the scanner wasn't enough. It couldn't decompose the white clouds. This caused Zhao Hai to be startled. It has been a long time since the space returned this prompt. Kair pursed her lips as she said, "I didn't expect it to be this advanced. We can't analyze it yet." This caused Zhao Hai's eyes to light up as he said, "This just means that it's a high-grade material." The space already received a lot of things from the 10,000 realm battlefield. If the universal scanner can't analyze the white clouds, then this means that it's anything but ordinary. "I'm sure it has a lot of uses." Laura's eyes also shone as she said, "Right. For the 10,000 realm battlefield to birth living beings is already strange." "Brother Hai, do you think this involves the white clouds?" "If this is the case, then the white clouds have more uses than we think. Most importantly, it might mean that the 10,000 realm battlefield is created much sooner than we thought." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "That's possible. It seems like we need to take these white clouds seriously. But this is also good. At least we managed to get our hands on something extraordinary." At this time, Megan shook her head and said, "Big Brother Hai, if the white clouds are really extraordinary, then the space should have leveled up. Why didn't it create any prompts?" It was Kair who answered, "This isn't strange. Right now, the space only knows about the basic use of the white clouds. However, it cannot analyze what it's made of and its properties. Because of this, it cannot be judged by the space. The space doesn't know if it can level up from the white clouds." Zhao Hai said, "Then the white cloud must be the most valuable material we've sent to the space." "Is it higher than the spirit root?" Kair shook her head and said, "This and that are different. The spirit root is something produced by the world of cultivation. Meanwhile, the white clouds might be linked to the creator of the 10,000 realm battlefield. It might be the creator's artifact, an influence higher than the 100 Treasures realm. Because its level is too high, the space cannot judge it. We still aren't sure if it's as valuable as the spirit root." Zhao Hai nodded. "Alright, no matter what, we'll know when the space levels up." Kair, begin refining the white clouds of this white cloud island. Then let's go find another island. Chapter 1544, Sea of Beasts. Zhao Hai stood on the top of the bow as the Hell King's ship traversed the Cloud Sea territory. However, this Cloud Sea territory was truly boring. There were a lot of dark clouds. No matter who, they would be tired of looking at it after some time. However, Zhao Hai wasn't bothered by it. He continued to stand on the ship's bow and stare at the black clouds ahead as though he was waiting for a treasure to emerge. Actually, there really were treasures in the dark clouds. The cloud beasts. Cloud beasts live inside the dark clouds. Growing up in this environment, each and every one of them were strong, but these cloud beasts share the same hobby, and that was eating white clouds. Since the people on the Cloud Sea territory knew about this characteristic, they would frequently use white clouds to bait the cloud beasts. It must be said that these white clouds were really interesting. As long as you cut a piece of it and put it among the dark clouds, it would slowly grow up by itself. Zhao Hai didn't use white clouds as bait this time. This was because Kair discovered a cloud beast in front of them. The cloud beast looked like a fierce tiger. Zhao Hai saw a lot of beasts in the 10,000 realm battlefield. However, there were no tiger beasts. This caused Zhao Hai to think that there were tigers in the 10,000 realm battlefield. But now, he finally saw one. The tiger seemed to be sleeping on a dark cloud. It was covered in black shiny fur. Its entire body was pitch black besides the white pattern on its forehead that looked like a king character. Although the tiger seems like it was sleeping soundly, every breath it took caused the surrounding dark clouds to form tornadoes. Zhao Hai was still some distance away from the tiger beast. He was observing it through the space. This tiger wasn't weak. It had the strength of an immortal expert. This caused Zhao Hai to wonder, why do the cloud beasts he encounters all have great strength? He remembered that most of the cloud beasts in Go Ling's list were quite weak, with the weakest at the lowest level of cultivation. On the other hand, the two beasts that Zhao Hai met were at the immortal level. At this time, the black tiger opened its eyes and swept towards Zhao Hai's direction. Then it slowly stood up. Its actions weren't quick. Instead they looked very graceful. After that, the tiger began walking towards the Hell King's ship. The walking speed of the tiger wasn't fast, and as it walked, the surrounding clouds weren't disturbed at all. This helped to hide its figure. Seeing this, Zhao Hai became even more curious about this tiger. It has been 5 days since he departed Go Ling's island. In those 5 days, Zhao Hai hadn't met any living creatures. After asking Go Ling about it, Zhao Hai learned that Go Ling chose to go into a far place because he managed to offend people. The orchard wasn't his. Go Ling just found records of a distant White Cloud Island, so he went there in order to avoid pursuit. Because he was being chased down, Go Ling lost his weapons and various items. It was because of this that he displayed horrible strength when he fought against Zhao Hai. It has been hard for Go Ling to run to such a faraway place. In order to reach his island, he suffered injuries. After spending many years on the island, Go Ling had yet to recover from his wounds. In order to deal with enemies, he had to make poisonous wine. In the end, he used the wine on Zhao Hai, which caused him to be killed. Go Ling also told Zhao Hai that the place they were currently in was a forbidden area in the Cloud Sea territory. It was called the Sea of Beasts. In this area, formidable cloud beasts roam. The strength of the beasts couldn't be underestimated. Because of this, Go Ling chose to run here. This was because the power that he offended was just too strong. If he picked any other place, he wouldn't survive. It was because this was the Sea of Beasts that so few people came here, let alone people from the 10,000 realm battlefield. It was because of this region that the people from the 10,000 realm battlefield and the Cloud Sea territory had not met each other. Zhao Hai also managed to grasp some understanding about the Cloud Sea territory. Although Go Ling was a severed soul expert, he wasn't an extraordinary person in the Cloud Sea territory. Moreover, he had a rogue cultivator background. Naturally, he wasn't regarded very well. He didn't know anyone high up. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offended the people he managed to offend. The Cloud Sea territory was like the lower realms. The influence here was divided between clans. There were no nations here. On the other hand, the 10,000 realm battlefield were ruled by various realms. It didn't have any clans in control. Because of this style of government, there exists numerous powers in the Cloud Sea territory. These powers formed a balance between cooperation and struggle. Rogue cultivators like Go Ling basically couldn't progress far. Despite this, The Sea of Beasts lay outside the influence of these clans. This was because there were just too many beasts in this region. A lot of clans send their people here in order to try and capture cloud beasts. However, they would only explore the outskirts of the region. They wouldn't dare go any deeper. Otherwise, if any of the formidable beasts show up, they would all be eradicated. Go Ling was only able to reach his island because he found a token of a predecessor. This token had a fairly safe route through the Sea of Beasts. Go Ling used this route to escape. Zhao Hai originally thought that even if there were powerful beasts in the Sea of Beasts, there should also be smaller beasts mixed in. It was really strange that he only met immortal stage beasts. However, Zhao Hai didn't think too much about this. He was very curious about the cloud beasts, but he has yet to form an idea to capture them for the space. Looking at the tiger making a move, Zhao Hai stopped. Then he retreated slowly. He wanted to see if the tiger would try to pursue. The tiger noticed Zhao Hai's intention to retreat. It immediately pounced. Before long, it was very close to Zhao Hai's location. Zhao Hai didn't expect the lazy and sluggish-looking tiger to have such quick speed once it made an effort. However, he wasn't worried. He already expected it due to his previous fight with the black dragon. Cloud beasts couldn't just be provoked easily, especially these high-level beasts. Although the black tiger didn't look special, Zhao Hai knew clearly that it was very strong. In Go Ling's list, this black tiger was known as Howling Wind Tiger. Once it moves, the wind and clouds change color. Its ability to control the wind was very formidable. Zhao Hai calculated the location of the tiger's next pounce. With a wave of his hand, he made a sword formation with 10,000 swords appear on the calculated location. Once the tiger landed, it fell down on the sword formation. It tried to struggle free. To be honest, the tiger was indeed very strong. However, Zhao Hai's sword formation mixed with faith power has become its nemesis. No matter how hard the Howling Wind Tiger moved, it couldn't get out. Before long, it was captured and sent to the space by Zhao Hai. From Go Ling's list, Zhao Hai knew that the Howling Wind Tiger and the Thunder Dragon were among the top-level beasts in the Sea of Beasts. Even immortal experts of the Cloud Sea territory didn't dare offend them. Because of this, Zhao Hai lost interest in capturing the other cloud beasts. By this point, capturing cloud beasts would bring no benefit to the space. Zhao Hai cleared his mind and then traversed the Sea of Beasts according to the map that Go Ling acquired. Zhao Hai spent nearly 1 month flying. He was very careful along the way and tightly followed the map in his hand. He also avoided strong cloud beasts. This wasn't to say that Zhao Hai was afraid of the cloud beasts, because these beasts were useless to him. It would only be a waste of time if he were to fight them. What Zhao Hai wanted to do right now was to reach the core of the Cloud Sea territory and see what it really was. Something that caused Zhao Hai to feel a headache was his identity. People from the Cloud Sea territory looked distinctly different from Zhao Hai. As soon as he was seen, they would immediately know that he wasn't one of them. When the time comes, the people from the Cloud Sea territory might try to deal with him. However, Zhao Hai felt that it would be a pity if he didn't visit the Cloud Sea territory. In the end, he decided to push through. The worst thing that could happen was for him to cause trouble in the territory. Zhao Hai might be a cautious person who treated matters with a lukewarm response. However, this didn't mean that he was a coward. As his strength improved, his bearing was also becoming stronger. In the past, he preferred to act low-key because he knew that his strength was nothing in the 10,000 realm battlefield. At that time, immortal experts can force him to use his trump cards. As his strength increased, the less and less cards he would have to reveal. Moreover, his strength was becoming well known. It would be unreasonable if he still acted low-key. Zhao Hai didn't want to be discreet, but some people actually think that he wanted to. Mu Yao and the others wanted Zhao Hai to keep being low-key since he was too important for the 100 Treasures realm. They wanted to reduce Zhao Hai's fame to as little as possible so that other realms wouldn't pay attention to him. If the other realms knew about Zhao Hai's abilities, then they would no doubt try to assassinate him. Because of this worry, Mu Yao wanted Zhao Hai to disappear from public eyes. But at this moment, a jade sword message flew into the 100 Treasures Realm's headquarters and delivered itself to Mu Yao's hands. Chapter 1545, Beast Concealed in the Clouds. After chasing Shen Way out, Mu Yao returned to his cave residence. Although Shen Way has been kicked out from power, this doesn't mean that he was now in control. He had just ended his term. Because of this, the 100 Treasures Realm would arrange another 5 elders to become the ruling elders. Despite this, Mu Yao was still very concerned about any news regarding Zhao Hai. He knew clearly well how crucial Zhao Hai was for the 100 Treasures Realm. It can be said that as long as Zhao Hai returns, even if he didn't bring anything back, the 100 Treasures Realm would still gain a lot. For this reason, Mu Yao was paying attention to any developments in the headquarters. Although he wasn't in charge and could return to his planet to close up, he still stayed in the headquarters in order to wait for any information about Zhao Hai. The elders of the 100 Treasures Realm also understood Mu Yao's feelings, but since they hadn't met Zhao Hai before, it was impossible for him to know about their spiritual signature. As the matter stands, Zhao Hai could only send a message back to Mu Yao. It was best for Mu Yao to stay in the headquarters in order to receive any news. However, it has already been 10 days but no news had come. Mu Yao couldn't help but become very anxious. Mu Yao no longer had any intentions of closing up. Once in a while, he would get out of his residence and take a stroll around the transmission formations. It wasn't only Mu Yao who was waiting, the entire headquarters were also waiting with him. Whether it was an immortal expert or a transcending tribulation expert, everyone was waiting for any news from Zhao Hai. However, they heard nothing back. The mood of the headquarters was very heavy. This day, Mu Yao was once again strolling around the transmission formation. Mu Yao looked like a senile old man lately. His eyes showed anxiety as he strolled back and forth the transmission formations. He was now beginning to regret agreeing to Zhao Hai's request to explore the sea. At this time, a jade sword message flew over. Mu Yao didn't even turn his head as he casually caught it. He looked like he didn't care. Then he nonchalantly scanned it using his spiritual force. Upon seeing the contents of the jade sword message, Mu Yao couldn't help but shake. Then he focused on the jade sword message's contents. His expression quickly lit up as he laughed in front of the transmission formation. The experts near the transmission formation were already used to Mu Yao's presence there. Seeing Mu Yao's happy expression, they couldn't help but ask, "Elder Mu, is it news about Zhao Hai?" They knew that the only thing that could make Mu Yao laugh was Zhao Hai. Looking at the one who asked, Mu Yao nodded and said, "It's a message sent by Zhao Hai. He's currently safe." After speaking, Mu Yao turned around and left. His voice wasn't low, so a lot of people heard it. In no time, the atmosphere of the headquarters lightened up. Mu Yao didn't have any time to join in on the merry mood. This was because Zhao Hai's message contained more than information about his well-being. A shocking news was included that would affect the future development of the 100 Treasures Realm. Mu Yao quickly arrived at the conference hall. The 2 severed soul experts on the entrance of the hall immediately welcomed Mu Yao as soon as they saw him. Mu Yao didn't delay. He waved his head and quickly entered the hall. There were 5 elders inside the hall. One of the 5 was a man dressed in black robes. He had an iron-like expression on his face. As he closed his eyes, he looked more like a statue than a person. Mu Yao turned to the man dressed in black and said, "Old Zong, huge news." "Huge news just arrived." The black-dressed elder turned his head to Mu Yao and said, "Old Mu, what are you so anxious about?" Mu Yao stepped forward and said, "Old Zong, look at this." Zhao Hai just sent his report about the sea. He actually found traces of people and beasts. He's now currently investigating. Hearing Mu Yao, Elder Zong was also excited. He snatched the jade sword message and searched it with his spiritual force. He carefully searched through the contents of the message before turning to Mu Yao and saying, "Are you certain that this is genuine?" Mu Yao looked into Elder Zong's eyes, then he said, "I'm absolutely sure. I believe that little Hai wouldn't make a joke about this matter." Elder Zong looked at Mu Yao and then smiled bitterly and said, "Old Mu, please don't be offended, But this matter is too important. I need to be careful. We need to discuss this further. I alone cannot make a decision on this matter." Mu Yao also believed that this matter was too big and the people here weren't enough to make a decision. It might even require a 10-elder assembly. Although it might seem that the last battle against the Fire Weaver and the Giant Spirit Realm was more important than Zhao Hai's matter, it must be known that the 100 Treasures Realm had been prepared to deal with the Giant Spirit Realm for many years. With this in place, naturally there's no need for a 10-elder assembly. And when the Fire Weavers entered the scene, the 100 Treasures Realm was surprised. Even a 10-elder assembly wouldn't be much of a help at that time, but this time, the implications were too important. Zhao Hai discovered signs of beasts and people on the sea. This was completely unprecedented. This may lead to a major opportunity for the entire 100 Treasures Realm. It cannot be dealt with carelessly. Mu Yao nodded and said, "We need to make a swift decision, but I think we can wait for Little Hai's next message. The sea is entirely filled with black clouds. Even if we send Little Hai a message, there's no way for it to reach him. We can only wait for Little Hai. What we need to do right now is to prepare." Mu Yao spent the longest time with Zhao Hai among the people in the conference hall, so he understood Zhao Hai the most. Zhao Hai wouldn't send a message with no reason. When he wrote it, he definitely knew something more regarding the sea. As soon as Elder Zong heard Mu Yao, he said, "You really have so much confidence in Zhao Hai. But if you're that confident, Old Mu, then why were you so anxious before?" Mu Yao scratched his head and said, "Zong Zi, you old man, stick to talking about business." Hearing Mu Yao, Elder Zong couldn't help but laugh. Mu Yao and Zong Zi were very good friends. Naturally, there's no need for politeness between the two of them. They can ridicule each other as much as they want. Mu Yao looked at Zong Zi, then he snorted and said, "I was anxious before because I'm worried that Little Hai would be affected by the purple mist and the dark clouds. Now that Little Hai managed to send a message back, it showed that he's not afraid of these things, so why would I be worried? Even if there's people there as well as beasts, as long as he's not affected by the dark clouds, how could they do anything to him?" Little Hai will definitely send another message. When he does, I reckon he has already ventured deep inside. Hearing Mu Yao, Zong Zi nodded and said, "All right. If this is really the case, then that would be the best. But it's good that we make some preparations. Old Mu, you should call Little Yu and the others back. We're going to prepare people, so how could we leave them out?" Mu Yu was also aware that there's no longer any use for Mu Yao and the others to close up. He gave a nod and said, "All right, I'll go call him over." "All right then, I'll be leaving this place to you." After he said that, he turned around and left. These people didn't know that their actions had been seen by Zhao Hai. He didn't send the message from the Cloud Sea territory but instead from outside the headquarters. The space already mapped the headquarters, so he can send a message there in a blink of an eye. Naturally, the speed was very fast. When he saw that Mu Yao was actually worried about him, Zhao Hai decided to send word back. Seeing Mu Yao's happy appearance, Zhao Hai was also glad. Hearing Mu Yao's exchange with Zong Zi, he turned his head to Laura and the others and said, "I didn't expect Elder Mu to know me so well. It seems like I cannot be lazy anymore." Laura smiled faintly, then she said, "With our current speed, we'll be able to exit the Sea of Beasts in a few days. After we leave, there will be a huge white cloud island named the Beast Fortress. This is a place used by the Cloud Sea territory to prevent the cloud beasts from killing people. There are 3 great clans in the Cloud Sea territory. Moreover, these 3 clans are located close to the Sea of Beasts. This allowed them to seize cloud beasts for their own use. The people in these clans are very strong. Even Go Ling doesn't know how many powerhouses they have. After all, Go Ling is just a severed soul expert. He has no idea about the strength of each clan." Zhao Hai nodded and then he said, "We cannot casually offend anyone in this place. If these 3 clans can keep such powerful beasts, it means that they are very strong. There certainly are a lot of immortal experts inside those clans. If we provoke them, we not only alert them of our presence, we will also have no place to hide in." Lizzie gave a nod and said, This means that we cannot show up in front of these people. I have read Goling's notes. About 10,000 kilometers east of the Beast Fortress is a small island. There are no great clans living there and most people don't even know that it exists. The people there are those who want to take risks and venture into the Sea of Beasts and also those who offended some big clans before. Because of how small the island is, the clans ignore it. Our goal should be that place. Zhao Hai agreed. Are you talking about the Hidden Cloud Village? It's indeed good for a temporary base. Alright, let's go there. We'll settle down first before exploring the Cloud Sea territory. I really want to see how strong they are. Kair smiled faintly before changing the Hell King's ship's direction towards the Hidden Cloud Village. They haven't told Xiangbo and the others about this yet. Since they were inside the ship, Xiangbo and the others could also sense some anomalies. However, they couldn't sense anything outside. Since this was the case, Xiangbo and the others knew that something must have happened and Zhao Hai didn't want them to know about it. They didn't ask any questions and just stayed inside their rooms to cultivate. This was because they knew very well that they had no courage to ask Zhao Hai. Chapter 1546 Cloud Rat Zjun. Zjun was carefully traversing the sea in front of him. He kept cautious of his surroundings. It must be said that Zjun's appearance was quite sinister. He had shiny rat-like eyes as well as a pair of buck teeth. He also had short hair which made people associate him with mice. Zjun was a very interesting person. Besides his greed, he really had no other weakness. His hands and feet were very dishonest. He liked to do petty thefts. However, he was also wise. He didn't dare provoke people. Because of this, he was able to live easily before. But 5 years ago, he stole something from a very ordinary cultivator. It was the cultivator's storage cloud token. He managed to find a lot of good things inside, from cloud fruit wine to cloud crystals. However, before Zjun could enjoy his spoils, he suddenly heard that a clan was tracking him. It was said that they wanted to find the person who stole from their steward. The clan was very strong. It would be very easy for them to squeeze him to death. Zjun didn't dare stay in the huge white cloud island. He ran to the Hidden Cloud Village and hid there for 5 years. Afterwards, he discovered that the village was very good with nobody managing it. He was unfettered there. Moreover, he can go to the Sea of Beasts once in a while in order to take a small cloud beast or two. Although it couldn't be sold for a lot, it was still able to provide him with enough food to eat. Zjun also had a peculiar liking towards rats. He has a lot of rats inside his cloud beast token. These rats were also cloud beasts, but the help they provided people was very minimal. Because of this, not a lot of people use them. Despite this, Zjun liked them. The cloud beasts he used were all rats. Rats don't help much when alone, but they're quite useful in big numbers. Slowly, Zjun was able to gain a reputation for himself in the Hidden Cloud Village. He was named Cloud Rat Zjun. Nobody knows the reason why Zjun liked to use his army of rats. Actually, Zjun was a practical person. The cloud beasts he used before weren't rats. Cloud beasts needed to be fed white clouds from time to time, otherwise they would die. While Zjun was running away, his cloud beasts began dying one by one. Later on, he can only afford to use rats. However, after using rats, Zjun discovered that the spiritual chi provided by rats allowed him to stay in the Sea of Beasts for quite a while. Moreover, they consume very little food. In terms of costs, they were quite efficient. So from then on, Zjun decided to use rats as his cloud beasts. In the Cloud Sea territory, everyone can use cloud beasts to provide themselves with spiritual chi. These beasts lived freely among the dark clouds. Even if they don't eat white clouds, there would be no problems. However, once they were caught, they needed to be fed with white clouds from time to time, otherwise they would die of hunger. Captured cloud beasts give their energy to cultivators so that they could survive in the Sea of Clouds. This allowed the cultivators to move in the dark clouds for a long time. Once the cloud beasts die, the cultivators would be in danger since they would be affected by the dark clouds. Due to this, if they weren't using Cloud Sea ships, people knew that they could only stay in the dark clouds for at most 10 days. If they don't come back in 10 days, their cloud beasts would be exhausted and they would be influenced by the dark clouds. After June used rats, he discovered that they allowed him to thrive in the dark clouds for 15 days with no problem. These rats would still be energetic and their strength didn't decrease. Despite having this discovery, June didn't inform anybody else. He knew that he wasn't strong. If he made his discovery known, then he would only be bringing disaster onto himself. He just used this discovery to benefit himself. This day, June was out catching cloud beasts. His strength was only at the core formation stage. His level of strength was at the minimum in this place. He also didn't have a special ability, which caused him to be at the lowest level of society. Majority of cloud beasts he caught were rabbits, cats, and other small critters. They were barely enough to trade for some food and drinks. June was cautiously moving forward. With his strength, if he met a strong cloud beast, then he would definitely become food. Fortunately, June was using rats as his cloud beasts. These rats were very good. As long as a high-level beast was in the vicinity, they would immediately become alert and then group up. Whilst June was flying forward, he suddenly noticed the dark clouds in front of him roll over. This caused him to be startled. This could only mean that there's something abnormal in front of him. But what made him feel strange was the fact that his cloud rats didn't make any response. As June was confused, he suddenly felt his body tighten. Without noticing it, iron chains had entangled him. June was greatly surprised. Just as he was about to attempt breaking loose, he felt his body losing its strength. He can no longer move. Then he felt the iron chains tighten even more before being pulled towards the approaching figure. Before long, June felt a presence in front of him. He was approaching a huge ship, and there was someone standing in front of it. Seeing this person, June couldn't help but be startled. This was because this person didn't look like someone from the Cloud Sea territory. Due to his surprise, June forgot to speak. Seeing June, Zhao Hai smiled faintly and asked, "What's your name? Are you from the hidden cloud village?" June recovered. His original white appearance had now turned green. He looked at Zhao Hai and asked, "May I ask who you are? Why did you tie me up?" Zhao Hai looked at June and said, "I'm the one asking the question. You only need to answer. If you don't, then I won't mind killing you." Zhao Hai's tone was very light, but June was able to feel the murderous aura coming out of him. The more he pondered about it, the more scared he became. Zhao Hai looked at June and asked once more, "What's your name? Are you from the hidden cloud village?" June didn't dare lie as he quickly replied, "This one is named June and I'm from the hidden cloud village." "Mister, please spare my life. From now on, I will obediently follow your orders." Zhao Hai stared. He didn't expect June to be so smart. He was clearly aware that if he didn't capitulate, then he would not be able to survive. When he heard June's response, Zhao Hai no longer wanted to kill him. He also saw that June was only at the core formation stage. Such a person could provide no help to him. Moreover, although June looked wretched, he was a very clever person. It won't be bad to have him as a servant. Seeing Zhao Hai being silent for some time, June's heart couldn't help but beat like a drum. He could see that although Zhao Hai spoke plainly and without any killing intent, he was a person that couldn't be provoked. This was a person that casually took lives. Because of this, June immediately expressed his willingness to surrender and serve. He was hoping that Zhao Hai would take him in. Other cultivators might not be able to do this, but June had been at the bottom levels for so long that he was sensitive to other people's moods. Moreover, to unimportant people like him, surrendering to a powerful expert wasn't a disgrace. Instead, it would be very advantageous if a powerful expert were to take him in. Zhao Hai waved his hand as the chains binding June vanished. Zhao Hai looked at June and said, "June, I'm someone from the 10,000 Realm battlefield. Have you heard about the 10,000 Realm battlefield?" June stared, then his expression changed. But he immediately bowed towards Zhao Hai and said, "Yes, I've heard of it." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "That's good. I know what the people from the Cloud Sea territory think about those from the 10,000 Realm battlefield, but I don't care about that. I'm just an advance party." Later on, the 10,000 Realm battlefield and the Cloud Sea territory will have more interactions. Zhao Hai's tone was light, but Jun could feel his body shudder. He knew what Zhao Hai meant. Zhao Hai wasn't afraid of Jun revealing his status. This was because Zhao Hai was just a vanguard and the 10,000 realm battlefield's main force was right behind him. Thinking of this, Jun couldn't help but kneel down as he kowtowed and said, "This one is incompetent. It's this one's honor to be able to meet the young master. This one is willing to become a slave for his entire life." Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Get up. Since you're willing to become my servant, then I will take you into my wing. You will not regret this decision." He waved his hand as a dragon and a tiger appeared. They were the Thunder Dragon and the Howling Wind Tiger. Jun was so frightened by the two beasts that he laid down on the floor without moving. He was a person who traversed the Sea of Beasts regularly, so how could he not recognize the Thunder Dragon and the Howling Wind Tiger? These two beasts were quite famous in the Cloud Sea territory. Then he heard Zhao Hai say, "I'm giving this dragon and tiger to you as a reward." Jun thought that he had misheard. He looked up at Zhao Hai and stuttered, "Mom Master, did you just say that you're giving the dragon and tiger to me?" Zhao Hai smiled faintly. He nodded and said, "It's your reward. If you have a cloud beast token, you can put them away. By the way, what cloud beast do you usually use?" Hearing Zhao Hai, Jun couldn't help but be embarrassed. He lowered his head and said, replying to young master, "This one uses cloud rats." Jun felt his face turn red. Using rats as his cloud beasts was a disgrace. However, Jun didn't expect Zhao Hai to just wave it off and said, "Let me see your rats." Jun didn't understand what Zhao Hai wanted to do, but he still took out his cloud beast token and took out the rats inside. As soon as the rats came out, they all trembled on the ground, afraid to make a move. Zhao Hai waved his hand and sent the rats to the space. As Jun was stunned, Zhao Hai waved his hand once more and released the rats. Although the rats didn't have any visual changes, their aura completely changed. Even if they were in front of the dragon and the tiger, they didn't show any fear at all. Zhao Hai waved his hand and took back the dragon and tiger. He looked at Jun and said, "I've transformed your rats and given them back to you. These rats wouldn't be any weaker than the dragon and the tiger, so I'll be taking these two back." Although Jun was aggrieved, he stored his cloud rats back into his cloud beast token, but just as he received the rats, Jun was startled. This was because the spiritual chi that the rats provided him has increased by a lot. If the spiritual chi provided by the rats before this was a cup of water, now they were giving him a river's worth of spiritual chi. Jun's heart skipped a beat as he felt even more terrified of Zhao Hai. He saw Zhao Hai wave his hand to receive the rats and then they became formidable when they reappeared. How could this not surprise Jun? Zhao Hai looked at Jun and said, "Stand up and cultivate well. Also, call me young master from now on." Jun hurriedly complied and stood up. Zhao Hai looked at Jun and said, "This time, I came as a scout for the 10,000 realm battlefield. This hidden cloud village is remote and suits my uses. I will take it for myself and use it as a temporary base. Tell me about the village as well as the number of experts there." Jun didn't delay and quickly explained the hidden cloud village's situation. It must be said that the hidden cloud village was truly a small island. The place wasn't large and the people living in it were all fugitives. It was a lawless place. Naturally, there were some groups there, but they weren't that powerful. The strongest person in the village was at the transcending tribulation stage. Its population numbered about 50,000 people. Zhao Hai nodded and said, "Dealing with these 50,000 people will be a bit troublesome. We can kill them all, but those who went out will return sooner or later. If they discover the changes to the island, I'm afraid they will leak the message out." Upon hearing Zhao Hai, Jun couldn't help but jump in fright. This was 50,000 people, yet Zhao Hai just casually mentioned killing them all. When he heard this, Jun rejoiced in his decision to submit. If he didn't, then he would have become a corpse a long time ago. Jun wiped a cold sweat as he said, "Young master, although the hidden cloud village is full of fugitives, there are also a lot of people who ran away after offending powerful clans. If young master can listen to this one, I suggest forcing them to surrender." Zhao Hai looked at Jun and said, "Having them surrender isn't impossible. However, there's one thing you need to understand. They can't know about my identity. Don't make me repeat it. Understand? June quickly replied, yes, young master. Rest assured, this little one will take care of it. Zhao Hai asked, how are you planning to return? June quickly replied, young master, you might not know this, but this one discovered that cloud rats allow me to travel the dark clouds 5 days more than the others. Therefore, there's no need for the young master to worry. Zhao Hai nodded, then he waved his hand and said, go. June nodded as he departed from the Hell King's ship and disappeared into the dark clouds. Chapter 1547, June persuades them to surrender. When Zhao Hai returned to the space, Laura and the others were already waiting for him. After sitting down, Laura looked at Zhao Hai and asked, Brother Hai, why did you take June in? He's useless to us. Zhao Hai smiled faintly and said, I don't want to kill too many people, or else it might affect my nature. Also, it would be good if we can take those people in. Alive subordinates are always better than undead. Although June wasn't an important person, he's quite clever, and in the future, we can't just destroy the entire Cloud Sea territory. We're here to conquer it, not turn it into ruins. Laura nodded. After years of following Zhao Hai, they saw him killing countless people, so they were quite used to it. Because of this, Zhao Hai sparing someone was somewhat strange. Zhao Hai looked at Laura and said, as long as we gain this foothold, we can establish a transmission formation and send word back to the realm. But we still have to kill people. After all, not everyone is as insightful as June. Laura smiled and said, this hidden cloud village isn't that big. It cannot accommodate a lot of people. I think we should find a bigger island. However, we'll be exposed if we do. I think we should tell the realm first and make a decision. Zhao Hai nodded. Let's see if June dares to betray me first. Then his rats will be enough to deal with him. Naturally, there's no need for Zhao Hai to be defensive against June. The rats had already been transformed by Zhao Hai. They would no longer listen to June. Additionally, Zhao Hai also had silver needles embedded into June's body. If he dared to talk nonsense, he would die immediately. Although Zhao Hai decided to refrain from killing this time, this didn't mean that he would be soft. When the time comes, he would kill people. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of June's actions. Actually, June didn't have any thoughts of betrayal. He wasn't a member of any clan, and if one looks at it closely, June had no reason to have any attachments to the Cloud Sea territory. He was just a small cultivator at the bottom of society. They were people that were constantly bullied by clans. In this case, he had no reason to be loyal to the Cloud Sea territory. June was born in the Cloud Sea territory and grew up there. However, the people in the Cloud Sea territory didn't give him any benefits. Everything he owns had been gained by his own hands. But Zhao Hai was different. Zhao Hai met him and improved his cloud rats. For people in the Cloud Sea territory, improvements to their cloud beasts was closely related to their cultivation. With his newly improved rats, June was certain that his cultivation would massively increase. This was a great benefit. Because of this, June decided to be loyal to Zhao Hai. After June left the ship, he immediately flew towards the hidden cloud village. The Hell King's ship wasn't very far, so he was able to arrive 2 days later. The White Cloud Island that hidden cloud village was located in was not very big. It was about 1,000 li across 500 kilometers. Cloud houses could be seen everywhere. Moreover, some of these houses hovered in midair. The houses varied in size. There were some structures where cultivators frequently came in and out. There were no shops on this island, but one can buy all they need here. It was a very strange place. It looked like a forgotten corner of the world, yet it was full of vitality. June was very familiar with the hidden cloud village. When he arrived, he returned to his house first. His residence was in a corner of the village. People like him weren't treated well by the people here. As June was flying towards his home, he met a very fat cultivator. He had a disc-like face and pea-like eyes that flashed from time to time. He looked like a very shrewd man. When this fatty saw June, he immediately called, June, why did you return so fast? Did you have a great harvest? June smiled and said, So it's fatty brother. There's no need to mention my harvest. I also met a huge guy when I went out. If I hadn't run so fast, I might not have been able to return. Let me go home first and recover. Hearing June, the fatty couldn't help but laugh as he said, speaking of which, you're really clever. Although your rats don't look like much, they have provided you with great help. I don't know how many people at your level died on the sea. Only you are able to live comfortably. Ha ha ha. June thought about it before he laughed and said, the rats are my treasures. Brother G, I have some good cloud fruit wine. Want to try it with me? Zhao Hai knew this fatty really well. The fatty came here because he offended some people. However, this person was quite resourceful. He was able to get food for the people in the village to consume. Merchants also prospered in Hidden Cloud Village. Even if they don't go hunt for cloud beasts, they could still live well. However, this fatty has a weakness for liquor. He would be sad if he hadn't had liquor for quite some time. Hearing June, the fatty couldn't help but lick his lips as he said, I happen to be free today. Then I'll happily share a few cups with you. June smiled faintly as he led the fatty back to his house. June's home wasn't that big, but it was very clean. After the fatty sat down, June took out a few white clouds of wine. In the Cloud Sea territory, wines were stored inside white clouds that could store about 10 gin of wine. After pouring the fat man a glass of wine, June took out 2 side dishes. The cultivators in the Cloud Sea territory didn't prohibit themselves from eating and drinking. On the contrary, food and drinks were part of their daily necessities. Naturally, they could skip meals if they have to. Like anything else on the territory, cloud dishes also looked very strange. They looked like squashed clouds. They were sweet and delicious, and they were also generally eaten raw. Taking a sip from his wine, the fat man opened his mouth and said, June, is there anything wrong? Let's talk. Your brother will listen. Hearing the fatty, June stared for a moment. Then he smiled and said, I really can't hide anything from you, brother. Fatty brother, why did you come to Hidden Cloud Village? June didn't expect the fatty to be so insightful. He even noticed that there's something different about June. But after thinking that the fatty wouldn't do anything bad to him, June decided to check whether he would be able to bring the fatty to his side. June didn't have a lot of friends in the Hidden Cloud Village, and this fatty was one of the very few friends he had. Because June used cloud rats, everyone ridiculed him. On the other hand, not only did this fatty not laugh at him, he also helped June. Because of this, June wanted to win this fatty over. This was because he knew that if this fatty didn't surrender, then he might be killed by Zhao Hai when the time comes. Hearing June, the fatty sighed and said, why are you asking? Hi, if I had a choice, why would I come to this village? In the Cloud Sea territory, my family can be considered to be a medium-grade clan. We have been mechants for generations. Although we can't compare to those big clans, we're still able to eat good food. Additionally, my family conducts honest business. Unfortunately, seeing our family doing good business, a big clan accused us of a crime we didn't do. My clan has been wiped out. If it weren't for me being out at that time, I might have suffered the same fate as my clan. Sadness could be clearly seen on the fatty's eyes. As tears flowed down his face, he said, although my family is only a medium-grade clan, we have more than 100 people, both young and old. All of them were killed. At that time, I had a wife and a 3-year-old son. I want to take revenge, but I am weak. I simply cannot do anything to that big clan. Moreover, that family chased me down, causing me to hide in this village. Because of the relationships I managed to foster in the past, I was able to get supplies to sell in this village. Brother, do you know why I became a drunkard? If I'm not drunk, how could I forget this irresolvable enmity in my heart? This hatred is torturing me, driving me mad. The fatty couldn't help but wail as he said these words. June sighed. His parents perished when he was young. Although he also suffered the coldness of society, he didn't suffer as much as the fatty did. However, June also saw an opportunity in this. He looked at the fatty and said, Brother Fatty, do you want revenge? If you do, this little brother might be able to help you. When he heard June, The crying fatty couldn't help but stare. Then he shook his head and said, "Brother, there's no need to comfort me. You cannot compare to my enemy. Even you were forced to came to this place. How can you help me?" June looked at the fatty and said, "If it was 2 days ago, then I truly wouldn't be able to help, brother. I'm even struggling to survive. But now it's different. Brother, let me tell you, I have become someone's subordinate." The fatty looked at June and asked, "You've become a subordinate? Who did you surrender to?" June lowered his voice and said, "Brother, have you heard about the 10,000 realm battlefield?" Fatty stared, then he immediately understood. He looked at June in the eyes and said, "You're saying you've surrendered to someone from the 10,000 realm battlefield? That's no good. Even if people from the 10,000 realm battlefield come, I'm afraid they would be constrained in this place. What benefits would we gain by surrendering to them?" June smiled faintly and said, "Brother, let me tell you, my young master is different compared to ordinary people from the 10,000 realm battlefield. He came in a huge ship and his strength is unfathomable. There's certainly a huge influence behind him. The young master is sent over as a vanguard. If I didn't surrender, then I might have already been killed. The young master sent me on a mission to persuade the people in the hidden cloud village to surrender. Brother, your enemy is powerful and you have no ability to take revenge. But if you surrender to the young master, once they begin their move against the Cloud Sea territory, they will inevitably clash with the big clans. There would be an opportunity for you to take revenge." Chapter 1548, Changing the Status. The fatty stared into June's eyes. He didn't distrust June's words. However, he experienced different things from June. Ever since childhood, June was an orphan, so he had always been treated coldly by almost everyone. Because of this, he had no sense of belonging to the Cloud Sea territory. The Cloud Sea territory didn't give him any warmth at all. However, the fatty was different. He was from a medium-grade clan. Although it was only a medium-grade clan, it was enough to cause him to have deep feelings towards the Cloud Sea territory. For him, the Cloud Sea territory wasn't a name nor a place. It represented his identity, his home. Therefore, the fatty held some hesitation in his heart. In his opinion, now that the 10,000 realm battlefield intends to invade the Cloud Sea territory, both sides have become enemies. On the other hand, this was an opportunity to get revenge. He knew that it was impossible for him to take revenge by himself given his aptitude. Even if he reached the immortal stage, it was still useless. This was because the enemy was just too strong. He simply didn't have any means to take revenge. Between a familial grudge and righteousness, only a hero would let go of his grudge and follow the path of righteousness. Naturally, the fatty wasn't a heroic character. He regarded the Cloud Sea territory as his home, but this home was also the home of a devil. Moreover, it was a devil that killed his entire family, and now there's someone who could allow him to take revenge. How could he not take it? The fatty thought about it for a while, then he looked at June and said, "Brother, will your new master agree to me joining? I'm not very talented. As you can see, I only managed to reach this level after many years of cultivation. Will he take me in?" June smiled and said, "Brother Fatty, you're mocking me. Do you really think I'm strong? Am I a cultivation genius? Yet the young master received me." "Brother, let me tell you the truth. If I hadn't stopped the young master, then he would have decided to kill everyone in the hidden cloud village. Not to say about revenge, you wouldn't even be able to do anything. If you go with the young master, at the very least you'll survive." When he heard June, the fatty's expression changed. Then he took a deep breath and said, "All right. I have nothing else to say. I will join your young master's side." "Brother, I'll have to depend on you in the future." June laughed and said, "Brother, there's no need to be polite." "Right, I've always called you Brother Fatty. I never really got your name." "If the young master asks, I cannot just introduce you as Brother Fatty, right?" The fat man chuckled and said, "My surname is Lee, name Zhang." "Brother, if you have heard about the Lee family from White Sand Island, that's my family." June stared. This was because he heard about the Lee family before. White Sand Island was quite a large white cloud island. It had several big clans and even more medium-grade clans like the Lee clan. However, The Li clan was famed on the island because the wine they brewed tasted the best. Later on, he heard that the Li clan had been destroyed. He didn't expect the fatty who escaped to the Hidden Clouds village to be from the Li clan. Jun looked at the fat man and said, I didn't expect Brother Fatty to be from the Li clan. I have been disrespectful, brother. I came back this time because the young master wanted me to attract people. I also want to show my abilities by bringing more people to the young master's side. At the same time, I want to give the other brothers in the Hidden Cloud village a way to survive. Otherwise, once the young master arrives, they will be finished. The fatty nodded and said, Kid, you're really clever. You just surrendered to your young master, but you already thought of so much. So what are you planning to do right now? Jun replied, Brother, you've spent a longer time than me in this place. You should know some people worth winning over. But we have to make sure that they won't ruin the young master's plan. Otherwise, young master will not let me off. Fatty Li nodded and said, we need to choose well. I reckon the young master wouldn't want information about the Hidden Cloud village to be known early. Fortunately, there's no transmission formations on the island. Otherwise, things would be more troublesome. We also can't persuade the big groups of the island since they wouldn't listen. Those guys have been benefiting from the Hidden Cloud village. They definitely won't let it go. I know people who have a grudge against big clans like me. I think we could persuade them. Naturally, we can't approach those who join the big groups. We'll look for those who are poor. Jun nodded. That's good. Let's act separately. We need to find reliable people to persuade, and we must not leak anything. Fatty Li nodded and said, then I won't stay here for long, brother. I'll leave once I drink this cup. Jun gave Fatty Li another cup before the two bid themselves farewell. Jun no longer had any mood to eat and drink. He immediately made his move. He looked for people who had an unsatisfactory life in the Hidden Cloud village, and also those who had a deep hatred towards the big clans. These people had no sense of belonging towards the Cloud Sea territory, so it was easy to persuade these people. Before the day ended, Jun and Fatty Li had recruited more than 20 people, which surprised the two of them. But what surprised them even more was that these more than 20 people became the beginner sparks of a bigger flame. As the 20 recruited their own people and they in turn recruited more people, about 30,000 people had already agreed to side with Zhao Hai in just 3 days. It must be known that Hidden Cloud Village only had a population of approximately 50,000 people. Jun was actually able to recruit 30,000 in just 3 days. Even Zhao Hai was surprised by this. Actually, this was an understandable result. The Hidden Cloud Village could be considered as a special prison. It was a place where people who offended great families came to stay, and with gangs forming in the village, there were people who were oppressed and bullied. These people were just holding on, waiting for someone to change the situation. However, nobody has done such a thing. Because everyone was wary of each other, it was almost impossible for someone to unite the island and quell the chaos. Zhao Hai's order to Jun was the impetus for change that these people were waiting for. Although this method wasn't what they expected, their expected result was the same. The gangs in Hidden Cloud Village naturally noticed the recent changes. They were now aware of Zhao Hai's existence. They couldn't help but be flustered. Some of them got in contact with Jun in hopes that they could join Zhao Hai. As for the other gangs, they began to flee. Seeing that the island's situation has become heated, Jun agreed to the gangs who requested to take refuge under Zhao Hai. After that, Jun and Fatty Li left the island and flew to the direction where the Hell King's ship had stopped. Jun and Fatty Li's actions were all seen by Zhao Hai. He didn't expect Jun to be this efficient. Without even lifting a finger, Hidden Cloud Village had practically fallen into his control. This was quite surprising. As for the gangs who escaped, naturally they couldn't be let off. Zhao Hai sent undead to hunt them down. None of them were able to run away. Before long, Jun and Fatty Li arrived before the Hell King's ship. Looking at the ship, the anxiety inside Fatty Li's heart finally settled down. When Jun and Fatty Li arrived by the Hell King's ship, they noticed Zhao Hai standing on the deck. Jun immediately led Fatty Li forward to pay respects. After kneeling down, Jun reported, Jun pays his respects to the young master. "This is my good friend Li Zhang. Thanks to him, I was able to persuade 30,000 people from the hidden cloud village, but some of them fled. I invite the young master to deal with them." Zhao Hai looked at Jun, then he nodded and said, "Good. Well done. I'm aware of what happened in the hidden cloud village. I've already dealt with those who escaped. Li Zhang, if you keep being loyal, I will definitely give you an opportunity to take revenge." Hearing Zhao Hai, Jun and Li Zhang were stunned. When they heard Zhao Hai saying that he's aware of what happened to the hidden cloud village, they thought that it was just Zhao Hai's casual remark, but it seems like this wasn't the case. Li Zhang only told Jun about his revenge. The two of them were now looking at Zhao Hai with fear. Both of them bowed their heads and didn't dare to move. The two of them were coldly sweating. Zhao Hai looked at the two and said, "Get up." The two trembled before getting up. They seemed frozen in place as they didn't dare make any unnecessary moves. Zhao Hai waved his hand and the Hell King's ship slowly flew towards the hidden cloud village. At this time, a lot of people were waiting on the island. None of them ran away. They wanted to see if Jun was speaking the truth. Before long, Zhao Hai arrived in hidden cloud village. When the huge ship appeared, the people on the island were alarmed. Some wanted to run away, but they soon discovered that they were surrounded. Not to say people, even mosquitoes wouldn't be able to escape. Despite being startled, the people from the hidden cloud village didn't dare rebel. But as they thought that they were going to be killed, Zhao Hai sent Jun and Fatty Li to meet them. They sent a message saying that Zhao Hai wouldn't make a move against them as long as they don't leave the village. After appeasing the people in the village, Zhao Hai began to establish a transmission formation. At the same time, he sent a message back to the 100 Treasures realm. It was still Mu Yao who received the letter. Mu Yao was no longer as anxious as several days before. Because he knew that Zhao Hai was safe, he began to feel relieved. Upon seeing the Jade Sword message, Mu Yao was no longer surprised. Looking at the contents, Mu Yao laughed. Then he took the Jade Sword message to Zongzi. Zongzi and the others were now waiting for news from Zhao Hai. This was the most important step for the 100 Treasures realm's future. If this plan goes through, the 100 Treasures realm would attain great benefits. Because of this, they were very receptive to any developments regarding Zhao Hai. They wanted to know how he was doing. When Mu Yao arrived at the conference hall, Zongzi's eyes lit up as he said, "Did Little Hai send a message?" Mu Yao laughed before handing the Jade Sword message over. Chapter 1549, 4 Boundaries of the Cloud Sea Territory. Zhao Hai's message had a lot of content. He spoke about his journey to the Cloud Sea Territory as well as the first person he met. Then he explained the situation of the territory and the fact that he was able to occupy an island. He also informed the headquarters that he established a transmission formation there. With this amount of content, it's natural that there were a lot of words included. Zongzi read Zhao Hai's message for some time. After putting it down, he let out a long breath before turning to Mu Yao and said, "Old Mu, now I know why you trust Zhao Hai so much. He's really someone who creates miracles." Not only was he able to survive, he also managed to occupy a place for himself. He even got 30,000 people to join his side. Ha ha ha. Old Mu, this Zhao Hai is definitely a blessing to the 100 Treasures realm. Mu Yao laughed as well. At this time, Mu Yu ran in from the outside. Mu Yu was called out by Mu Yao in order to watch the transmission formation. But now he actually left his post. Mu Yao thought that Mu Yu came to know what Zhao Hai sent. But before he could say anything, Mu Yao said, "Master, look who's here." As he said that, he approached Mu Yao and pointed towards the entrance of the conference hall. Someone was calmly walking inside. He was wearing black clothing and had a gentle smile. It was none other than Zhao Hai. When he entered the hall, Zhao Hai gave everyone a salute and said, "Zhao Hai has seen Elder Mu, Elder Zong, and the other elders. I'm fortunate to complete the expedition. I'm back." Mu Yao laughed. He went towards Zhao Hai and patted his shoulder heavily as he said, "Good Little Hai, good job, ha ha ha. Quickly tell everyone how you're doing." Zhao Hai nodded. He turned to Zongzi and said, The situation is the same as I have written in the Jade Sword message. The hidden cloud village is now under my control. The transmission formation has also been established. Zongzi nodded and said, Little Hai, you've done a great achievement once more. What do you think we should do now? Zhao Hai fell silent for a moment and then said, Now that we have hidden cloud village under control, I think we should start sending people over. But as to whether we should attack the Cloud Sea territory, it still needs a lot of consideration. The Cloud Sea territory is very big and it will be difficult for the 100 Treasures realm to swallow it all. Moreover, there are people from the other realms who came with me this time. Besides the person from the Ghost Spirit realm, the others are still with me. The people from the Ghost Spirit realm sent someone to kill me when I was heading to Hornview Mountain. Because of this, I killed the person they sent with me to explore. Zongzi didn't mind this information at all. He waved his hand and said, How is the Cloud Sea territory's strength compared to us? Zhao Hai paused and said, They should be as strong as us. They have a special cultivation method and they can survive in the dark clouds for some time without their strength being affected. They have cloud beasts that allow them to survive in the dark clouds for about 10 days. Even with this, it's already impressive. We have to be careful when facing them. Zongzi nodded and said, Good. How large is the Cloud Sea territory? Zhao Hai shook his head and said, I don't know. The entire Cloud Sea territory might not be smaller than the 10,000 realm battlefield. This is the reason why I said that we cannot swallow the entire Cloud Sea territory on our own. One realm cannot fight against the entire territory. I'm afraid we'll have to ask the other realms for help. But Elder Zong doesn't need to worry. Although the people from the other realms came with me, they spent the entire time inside the Hell King's ship. They don't know what's happening outside. We still have control over when we notify them about the situation. When Zongzi heard this, his eyes couldn't help but light up. Before, he was worried that the people who came with Zhao Hai would reveal this information ahead of time. He was even prepared to tell Zhao Hai to kill those people. But this would cause friction with the other realms. Those people weren't fools. So many people went out but only Zhao Hai came back. This would be unjustified. When the time comes, those realms might ally with each other and cause trouble. Zhao Hai's move was the best solution to this problem. These people were alive but they didn't know anything. This would give the 100 Treasures realm time to take initiative in taking a bite out of the Cloud Sea territory. Zongzi pondered for a moment and said, Don't let them know for now. Have someone take control over the hidden cloud village. At the same time, scout the surroundings and see if there are other places we can use as a base. Little Hai, even if you've worked hard, you're still the one most familiar with the hidden cloud village. We'll have to depend on you again this time. Zhao Hai cupped his fist and said, Elder, rest assured, I'll take care of it. Zongzi nodded. Then he turned to Muyu and said, Little you, take 10,000 people and follow Little Hai to the hidden cloud village. Build our base and then we'll look for other places to build another base. Once that's completed, we'll inform the others. Muyu and Zhao Hai immediately understood what Zongzi meant. The hidden cloud village was very remote even for an island in the Cloud Sea territory. It doesn't even maintain any transmission formations. It was an almost forgotten place. But at the same time, this made it a perfect place to have a base. The 100 Treasures realm would build a base here and then find another place where bases could be built. When the 100 Treasures realm informs the other realms about the Cloud Sea territory and they send troops, the 100 Treasures realm would have a secret base unknown to the others. Naturally, this would be the first step. With this secret base, they can have more safety in retreating and attacking in the Cloud Sea territory. Muyu nodded and immediately went to make his arrangements. Zongzi turned to Zhao Hai and said, Little Hai, first go back to the hidden cloud village and prepare. The people we're sending over would need a place to stay. Zhao Hai nodded, then he left after giving the other elders a salute. Looking at Zhao Hai's departing back, Mu smiled and said, This kid is always lukewarm when he does things. However, he does his tasks step by step. You cannot find fault in his actions. Well, it won't be long before we can stretch our hands into the Cloud Sea territory. Zongzi nodded and said, Old Mu, let's arrange a 10-elder assembly. This is something we cannot take responsibility for on our own. Mu Yao agreed to Zhongzi's proposal. Zhongzi proceeded to invite all the elders for a conference. Zhao Hai had just returned to the headquarters, but now he was back in Hidden Cloud Village. Nothing noteworthy happened in the village while he was gone. Now that everyone had changed sides to Zhao Hai, there was no longer any disorder. Fatty Li and June were now managing the village. The gangs in the Hidden Cloud Village were practically made up of people who ran away. Because of this, they didn't dare leave the village. This is the reason why the gangs easily joined Zhao Hai's side. As for those who didn't, they were already dead. Upon returning to the Hidden Cloud Village, Zhao Hai immediately summons June and Fatty Li. Zhao Hai no longer stayed in the Hell King's ship. Instead, he occupied a cloud house in the village. After reaching the cloud house, June and Fatty Li knelt down and gave a greeting to Zhao Hai. Zhao Hai waved his hand and said, "Get up. There's no need to kneel. There's no need to do that in the future." The two complied and stood on the side with respectful expressions. Looking at the two, Zhao Hai said, "You have been taking great care of the Hidden Cloud Village. You can rest assured that I will not treat you unfairly." "Li Zhong, take out your cloud beast. Let me see." Although Li Zhong didn't know why, he still took out his cloud beast token and released his cloud beast. To Zhao Hai's surprise, Fatty Li's cloud beast was actually a pig. There's no mistaking it. It's a pig, not a wild boar, but a plump black pig. After being released, the pig snorted repeatedly with no regard for the place it was in. It looked quite embarrassing. Zhao Hai looked at this black pig, speechless and confused. The people in the Cloud Beast territory were really interesting. Their cloud beasts resembled themselves. There was June's rats and now there's Li Jiang's pig. It was really strange. June looked at Zhao Hai's expression and knew what he was thinking about. He cupped his fist and said, "Young master, after using their cloud beasts, the bodies of the people in the Cloud Sea territory would change. They would take the form of the cloud beast they use." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he waved his hand and sent the pig to the space. Soon after, he took it back out and handed it to Li Zhong before saying, "Take this." Li Zhong received the pig and immediately felt the changes that happened to it. He couldn't help but look at Zhao Hai with astonishment. Zhao Hai looked at Li Zhong and said, "This is your reward. As long as you work earnestly, you will receive more. The two of you need to take care of the others. Don't let them think that I'm a lenient person. Everyone who escaped the village has already been killed by me. If there's anyone who gives me a headache, I won't hesitate to kill them. Understand?" The two nodded and said, "Yes, young master can rest assured." Zhao Hai nodded. Then he looked at the two and said, "Have people build cloud houses. My people will come over in 2 days. Before they arrive, we need to arrange their accommodations. You can also clean up the houses of those who left. About 10,000 cloud houses will do." The two nodded. But before they could leave, Zhao Hai said, "June, you take care of it. Li Zhong, stay behind." June nodded and then bowed before he left. Meanwhile, Li Zhong was looking at Zhao Hai with an anxious expression. Zhao Hai looked at Li Zhong and said, "Li Zhong, since your clan has been doing business in the past, you should be very familiar with the Cloud Sea territory. I want to know how big the territory is." Li Zhong had a difficult expression as he replied, "Young master, this one really has no idea, and it's not only me. I'm afraid nobody knows how big the territory is. What we know is that there's 2 boundaries in the north and south as well as 2 mountains in the east and west. This should be the range of the Cloud Sea territory. However, I heard that there are still white cloud islands behind the boundaries." Zhao Hai nodded. "Then tell me about the Sea of Clouds." Li Zhong replied, "The Sea of Clouds that you're saying should be the Sea of Beasts. Nobody knows how large the Sea of Beasts is. There are very few white cloud islands inside the Sea of Beasts and people cannot survive inside it. On the other hand, Cloud beasts thrive there. It's filled with beasts that are very powerful. This is the reason why it's referred to as one of the boundaries of the Cloud Sea territory. There's a waterfall in the southernmost part of the Cloud Sea territory. Nobody knows where it leads to. It only flows from the territory and then to another place. This waterfall is the southern boundary of the Cloud Sea territory. The two mountains on either side of the territory act like walls. One of them is called the Bronze Wall while the other is the Iron Wall. They became the east and west boundaries of the Cloud Sea territory. Nobody has a clear idea about how tall they are, but inside these four boundaries are a countless number of white cloud islands. Some of the biggest islands are connected to each other by transmission formations. As for the smaller islands, they have transmission formations connecting to a bigger island. Zhao Hai nodded. Then he asked once more, this waterfall, the Bronze Wall, and the Iron Wall, why did nobody investigate them? Why did you say that nobody knows how high they are? Li Zhang answered, the two mountains have been explored. However, the rocks on the mountains are very hard. It's very difficult to dig through them. Additionally, dark clouds in those areas are more dense. Because of this, nobody knows how high it is. Nobody knows what's beyond those mountains, nor does anyone know how high or how far it stretches. The waterfall is the most peculiar. It was teeming with beasts. As long as someone approaches it, they would immediately be flooded with beasts. These beasts are very powerful. Even immortal experts wouldn't survive under their attack. Because of this, nobody knows what's in it. People always wanted to leave the Cloud Sea territory, but they would be attacked by countless beasts. There were very few people who managed to survive these journeys. However, there's a rumor saying that a legendary continent lies outside the territory where there are white clouds everywhere. Zhao Hai smiled faintly. He didn't believe that there would be a place full of white clouds beyond the Cloud Sea territory. People always wanted to fantasize about great things. After hearing Li Zhang, Zhao Hai asked once more, how many powerful clans are there in the territory? Chapter 1550, Around Hidden Cloud Village. Li Zhang replied, answering to the young master, I don't know a lot about the various powers. In the Cloud Sea territory, there are a lot of clans that can be considered as big powers. I know that there are hundreds of them. Experts flock to these big clans. In addition to their clan members, they also employ the descendants of their servants as well as experts that seek refuge. These clans are very powerful. From what I heard, big clans of the Cloud Sea territory have at least 500 immortal experts. Before its demise, my clan has only been in contact with a few large clans as well as some medium and small-sized clans. A large white cloud island can house hundreds of clans. As for the entire power of the Cloud Sea territory, I really have no idea. Zhao Hai nodded. The waters of the Cloud Sea territory are much deeper than he imagined. To be called a big clan, it has to have at least 500 immortal experts. Li Zhang alone knows about 100 big clans. How many immortal experts was that? It seems like the Cloud Sea territory has experts as common as clouds. Zhao Hai thought for a moment and said, do you know any white cloud islands near here? Li Zhang nodded. I know some. I sell food in the hidden cloud village. Because of this, I was able to be familiar with the surrounding islands. Zhao Hai nodded and said, all right, tell me about the nearby islands. Li Zhang answered, since there are no transmission formations in the village, people choose to go to places that are within 10 days away. The most famous island is the Cloud Beast Fortress. It has several big clans living in it as well as medium and small clans. The main market there is the buying and selling of cloud beasts. Because of this, the situation of the island is quite complex. Even the 3 big clans that are native there can't control the entire island. Zhao Hai nodded. Go Ling already told him about the Cloud Beast Fortress so he wasn't surprised. Li Zhang continued. About 8 days of travel to the southeast is a small island called the Beast Artifact Pavilion. It has a large number of refiners making weapons, armor, and other things. They are very famous for their craft. There are no big clans on the island, only a collection of refiners. Since everyone uses cloud artifacts, Nobody dares to provoke them. 6 days of travel southwards is an island called Cloud Rice Township. It's the biggest rice plantation in the area. It mainly supplies the Cloud Beast Fortress. In the township is a big clan called the Mi Clan. Because of the profitability of Cloud Rice, they don't do any other business. Their relationship with the 3 big clans of the Cloud Beast Fortress is also good. Because of this, their business is very safe. In the past, I would often go to Cloud Rice Township in order to peddle rice. I know a steward of the Mi clan, so I was able to get some rice to sell. 13 days south of Hidden Cloud Village is G Village. It's quite a large and well-known market. Legend has it that it's one of the most ancient markets in the Cloud Sea territory. After saying this, Li Zhang paused for a moment before continuing. These are the closest islands to the Hidden Cloud Village. Most of the time, people from the Hidden Cloud Village go to these islands and use their transmission formations to go to other places. There are very few people who travel to these places. Firstly, it was a waste of time. Secondly, it's dangerous. It's more likely to meet powerful beasts here than other places. Zhao Hai nodded. Then he waved his hand and said, "You go back and help Jun." Li Zhang nodded before leaving. Zhao Hai paused for a moment before he entered the space. Then he looked at Kair and said, "Is it possible to send silver needles to those places?" Kair nodded and said, "Young master, don't worry. I've already sent the needles. We should receive information soon." "What do you plan to do now?" Zhao Hai thought about it and said, "Let's look at the surrounding islands first. The Cloud Beast Fortress is a good place, but since it has big clans, we need to be more careful." Kair nodded. At this time, the newly established transmission formation on Hidden Cloud Village lit up. This caused the people in the village to pause. They all stopped what they were doing as they stared at the transmission formation. Naturally, this was the transmission formation that was set up by Zhao Hai connected to the 10,000 realm battlefield. The people from the Cloud Sea territory weren't unfamiliar with the 10,000 realm battlefield. Although they haven't been to the 10,000 realm battlefield, they heard legends of it. They saw Zhao Hai's special appearance before, so when they saw the transmission formation activating, they were very curious. After the white light flashed, several figures could be seen. There weren't a lot of people, only 5. Leading the group was Mu Yu and he was followed by 4 severed soul experts. Zhao Hai appeared at the transmission formation as he laughed and said, "Brother Mu, you arrived quickly. I have just prepared the rooms." Mu Yu left and said, "Who doesn't want to see the Cloud Sea territory sooner?" "These are the people of the Cloud Sea territory. They really look different from us." Zhao Hai laughed loudly as he patted someone's shoulder and said, "Lead us to one of the houses." After he said that, the person he patted on the shoulder led them to a cloud house. Once they were inside the house, Zhao Hai turned to Mu Yu and said, "Brother Mu, have everyone come in batches. There's still not enough room here." Mu Yu smiled and said, "That's not a problem. You have the Hell King's ship. Worst comes to worst, we can just have people stay inside your ship. There won't be any problems." Zhao Hai smiled and said, "That works as well. Then have them all come." After that, he said, "Zjun, Li Zhang, come in." As his voice fell, Zjun and Li Zhang walked in from the outside. The two gave Zhao Hai a salute, addressing him as young master. Zhao Hai nodded and said, "This is my brother Mu Yu. Call him young master Mu from now on. The others will be coming here soon." "How are the accommodations doing?" Zjun immediately replied, "Young master can rest assured. It's been arranged. As long as you don't bring over 13,000 people, you can accommodate everyone." Zhao Hai nodded. "Good. Go arrange for people to help those that will be arriving soon." The two nodded before leaving. Looking at the two, Mu Yu smiled and said, "You really treat people well, but those two aren't very strong. They aren't enough to be your servant." Hearing this, Zhao Hai laughed and said, "Brother Mu, I'm not an influential person." "What do you mean they aren't enough to be my servant?" "Although they are weak, their skills aren't bad. We're here to conquer the Cloud Sea territory, not to commit genocide. Let's just keep them." These guys all came to this island because they have enmity with the big clans. With them on our side, we might have a more convenient path in the future. Mu Yu nodded. He looked around and said, "This place really looks the same as you described. It's really beautiful. By the way, did you find out about the surrounding area?" Zhao Hai smiled and said, "We'll have information in a couple of days. I already found out about the names of the nearby islands. However, since they aren't connected to the hidden cloud village by transmission formation, I have to collect information slowly." Mu Yu nodded. "Don't worry about it. This place will be our base in the future. We can't expose it. This time, the realm will give you our full support." Zhao Hai smiled bitterly and said, "Things aren't as simple as we initially thought. I asked Li Zhong just now and found out that the powers in the territory aren't that small. Most importantly, there are a lot of experts here." Li Zhong said that big clans in the Cloud Sea territory have about 500 immortal experts in them, and he heard that there are hundreds of big clans. Fighting them won't be easy. Mu Yu stared, his complexion turned serious as he looked at Zhao Hai and said, "Then what do you think we should do?" Zhao Hai thought for a moment and said, "We'll use courtesy first before force. But we cannot expose our connection with the hidden cloud village. We can unite with the other realms and get in contact with the Cloud Sea territory. If we manage to negotiate peacefully, we'll be able to slowly establish our roots here and build a firm foundation. But if the negotiations fail, we don't need to be polite. In any case, we can arrive at the Cloud Sea territory anytime to fight them. On the other hand, they can't go to the 10,000 realm battlefield to fight back." Mu Yu knit his brows and said, "I'm afraid it won't be easy. Those big clans surely wouldn't just ignore it." "Alright, there's no need to think so much. We know too little about the Cloud Sea territory. Let's make our secret base here first." "Little Hai, how do you think we should build the hidden cloud village?" Zhao Hai thought about it for a moment and said, "I don't want to build too much. We'll put the transmission formation in a hidden place and make the troops move around the village to avoid being watched. Although Hidden Cloud Village isn't noteworthy right now, when we fight the Cloud Sea territory in the future, the village would definitely be noticed. We need to make sure that the village won't be connected with us." Mu Yu nodded and said, "I agree. After all, we are the invading army. I'll have to ask you to take care of this matter. I'll guarantee that the troops will listen to you. If not, you can deal with them as you wish." Zhao Hai nodded. Although Mu Yu said something so cold, it was the best they could do right now.